Chapter 1078. Breakthrough obstructed. The disturbances in Hellfire City subsided very quickly. However, ever since the battle from that night ended, the descendant of the Bai family never appeared again. A small wooden hut stood alone on the tallest mountain of a mountain range, over 10,000 kilometers away from the City of God. Even though it was buffeted by the cold wind all year round, it seemed to be deeply rooted to the ground. It stood there securely, without even swaying a little. The layout of the hut was extremely simple to the point where it was hard to believe that it was inhabited. Other than a wooden bed, a table, and a chair, there was nothing else. Everyone inside, however, was spotlessly clean. On the bed lay a middle-aged beauty in a dark green dress. She was elegant, and her face radiated with a certain righteousness. She possessed a striking appearance, and even though she was already middle-aged, she possessed supreme beauty. A single glance would be enough to discern that she was an enchanting woman in the past. Beside the bed sat a white-robed middle-aged man. His face was filled with sorrow and pain, and he seemed rather haggard. He gently held the woman's white hand. "Kayan, you've slept for 1 whole year. I know that you only sealed yourself off from your aching heart, and that you don't want to wake up ever again. Kayan, it's me who can't make it up to you. It's me who has no right to see you. The one who should have suffered punishment like this should have been me, not you. Kayan, why are you so silly? Kayun, can you hear me? Don't be so stubborn. Don't be like this, alright? Wake up. Do you know that I feel horrible when I see you like this? Such agony." Hawu sat beside Kayun, gently murmuring to himself as he held her hand. His face revealed the pain he felt. Ever since he had brought Kayun away from the City of God, she had always remained unconscious. "Kayan, maybe Muar can wake you up. Do I have to go find Muar?" Hawu murmured as bitterness filled him. He knew extremely well that Muar really hated both him and Kayun. It would be virtually impossible to get her to awaken Kayun with her zither music. And if he really did try something like that, it would probably deepen the heavenly enchantress' hatred for him. What should I do? Just what should I do? Kayan, when are you going to wake up? In the blink of an eye, another 2 years passed. It had been 3 whole years since Jianchen had arrived in Mercenary City. Jianchen sat like a sculpture in the room Shaoling forged from energy deep below Mercenary City. He did not move at all. Not even energy rippled from his body. In the silent and ice-cold room, the space there seemed to pulse like a beating heart. A profound aura filled the surroundings, possessing the indescribable truths of the world. Jianchen sat there just like that, borrowing the mysteries of the world invoked by Shaoling to comprehend the truths of the world, as well as the laws of the world. After 3 years of hard work, the rate he improved at could not be described with words. He advanced from the 7th heavenly layer to the 9th heavenly layer, in terms of comprehension during those 3 years, and had stagnated at the 9th heavenly layer for a whole year. He was at the peak right now, only an inch away from reaching the comprehension of a Saint King. Bai Hai and Huang Tianba remained at the 7th and 6th heavenly layers respectively from 2 years ago. Their talents were nowhere near as great as Jianchen's. So even with Shaoling's assistance, they failed to advance 1 minor cultivation level a year. However, the speed at which they comprehended the secrets meant it would require another 3 years before they could break through once more. The reason why they had broken through together in just 1 year before was because they had stagnated at that level for several years already. They had already reached the peak, which was why they could make a breakthrough so soon. The two of them were still ravished with joy, even though they had just made 1 breakthrough in 3 years, as they would have to waste at least several decades, or even over 100 years to break through when they comprehended the mysteries by themselves. With Shaoling's assistance, the time required had been reduced several times over, perhaps even more than 10 times over. In 3 years, Huang Wuan's strength increased quickly as well. She reached the 4th heavenly layer of Saint Ruler, while only Chang Wuji and Yang Ling remained as Heaven Saint Masters. Chang Wuji's talent was ordinary. He had consumed heavenly resources before, but he was virtually at the end of his 1,000-year life. He seemed to have run out of momentum. So even with the assistance of the 3 beast furs, he failed to comprehend the mysteries of the world completely. He remained at the peak of Heaven Saint Master. On the other hand, Yang Ling had not broken through, but he still had a lot of time ahead of him. As a result, breaking through was only a matter of time for him. Suddenly, the mysteries of the world that filled Jian Chen's room began to pulse violently. The space around Jian Chen also seemed to react, trembling. The room began to distort. Jian Chen's figure also became blurrier and blurrier, until he disappeared in the distorting space. The sunny sky above Mercenary City immediately began to darken. A thick layer of clouds rapidly appeared, enveloping the entire city. The clouds shrouded the sunlight, obscuring the sky. They rapidly expanded, covering a radius of 100,000 kilometers. They threw Mercenary City into darkness in that instance. The sudden change in weather caused everyone in Mercenary City to stop what they were doing. At that moment, everyone raised their heads at the sky. All of them were filled with surprise and were curious, so they began discussing the changes all over the city. No one knew what was happening. The speed at which the clouds had gathered was unbelievable. It did not seem like a storm at all. Just as everyone discussed the sudden change in the clouds, a vast pressure suddenly appeared and pressed viciously down from space. It engulfed all of Mercenary City, and coupled with the pressure was the profound, incomprehensible mysteries of the world. Immediately, everyone felt like a boulder was pressing against their chests, making it difficult for them to breathe. Some weaker people even felt like they were suffocating. These are the mysteries of the world. Someone's broken through to Saint Ruler. No, I've personally witnessed the birth of a Saint Ruler before. The pressure was never this great, and the mysteries of the world that descended were not as strong. Has someone become a Saint King? The birth of a Saint Ruler is accompanied with 5-colored rainbow clouds. If it's a Saint King, there will be 7-colored rainbow clouds. Let's just wait to see the color of the clouds to know if it's a Saint Ruler or a Saint King. Look, everyone, colors have appeared. The rainbow clouds have appeared. Experts were plentiful in Mercenary City, so a few experienced ones could see through the odd phenomenon of the clouds with a single glance. They immediately called out as envy filled their eyes. Afterward, a dazzling multicolored light pierced through the darkness. It appeared in the thick layer of clouds and quickly became magnificent. It reached 7 colors in total very soon, dyeing all the clouds. It was enchanting. It's 7-colored. The clouds are 7-colored. A Saint Ruler's broken through to Saint King. Who has broken through? Is it an elder of Mercenary City? Looks like Mercenary City has gained another expert from today on. The crowd fell into a hubbub. Everyone was extremely excited. To personally witness the birth of a Saint King was something they could only experience through luck. There were just too few Saint Kings on the Tianyuan continent, and it would be difficult for a Saint King to appear even with several billions of people. The appearance of the 7-colored rainbow clouds alerted all the high-ranking members of Mercenary City. With Tianjian as their leader, a group appeared in the air as they stared at the clouds in the sky in amazement. Grand Elder, just who has broken through in our Mercenary City? Why do I sense nothing in regard to this? Is it because the person who broke through isn't in the city, but elsewhere in Mercenary City, just happens to lie in the radius of the rainbow clouds? An elder politely asked from behind Tianjian. Tianjian stared unblinkingly at the clouds in the sky as interest filled his face. He said, "The clouds are centered around Mercenary City. The person who has broken through is indeed in this city, but he has hidden himself very well. Even I cannot sense where he is." At this moment, an odd phenomenon suddenly appeared. The pressure that filled the surroundings rapidly weakened, and in just a few seconds, it completely disappeared, as if it was never present. The rainbow clouds also began to dull, turning into nothing in a few seconds as well. A deep blue sky reappeared. Tianjian furrowed his brows slightly when he saw this change. Shock filled his eyes, and he called out, "What's happened? Why have the clouds disappeared?" When someone breaks through to Saint King, the clouds will remain for 7 whole days. BB. But why have the clouds dispersed so quickly right after they had formed? This has never happened before. This is unheard of. There is no record of this whatsoever. An elder beside Tianjian cried out in astonishment. Tianjian pondered the occurrence as he stared at the sky. After a while, he seemed to understand something, and he sighed. He said in pity, "That person's failed his breakthrough." Failed? How is that possible? Once the rainbow clouds appear, they are destined to succeed. How can failure appear? This truly is unheard of. All the elders of Mercenary City were utterly confused by how the rainbow clouds had completely disappeared after appearing for less than 20 seconds. They all doubted what they saw. A few knowledgeable people also reached a similar conclusion with their deductions, and they all sighed in pity. At that moment, many people felt sympathetic for the person who had failed his breakthrough. It would truly be a great blow to the person breaking through, since that person was just about to become an expert that no one would dare to anger on the continent. Yet that person failed in the final moments. Jianchen snapped open his eyes deep under Mercenary City. He angrily stood up and yelled at the sword spirits in his sea of consciousness. Ziying, Qingzhua, why have you come and made trouble? I almost would have become a Saint King, but I failed with what you did. Why are you stopping me from reaching Saint King? Everything was extremely successful as Jianchen made his breakthrough. Just as he was about to reach Saint King, he had never thought that the sword spirits would suddenly interfere at this crucial moment, denying Jianchen of his chance to reach Saint King. Chapter 1079. The 5 major realms of the sword. Jianchen stood up angrily as regret and pity filled his heart. Saint King. That was something he had longed for a very long time. Although reaching Saint King in terms of comprehension would not increase his strength, he could rip open space gates if he did. When that happened, the size of the world did not matter, nor did the distance between two places. It would all just be a step away for Jianchen. He would no longer need to rely on Ruijin and Heiyu if he wanted to go to some distant place. Saint King was the level of cultivation Jianchen had yearned for. He did not lack prowess in battle. He lacked cultivation. Master, you can't continue your comprehension of the mysteries of the world, because it'll only be detrimental to you. Qingzhua timidly explained as she sensed Jianchen's anger. Master, we stopped you from reaching Saint King for your own good. You can't reach Saint King. Ziying's voice also rang out in Jianchen's head. It sounded extremely stubborn, as if he would obstruct Jianchen no matter how angry Jianchen became. Jianchen calmed down very quickly with that. He suppressed his anger and growled. Ziying, Qingzhua, just what is this about? Why can't I become a Saint King? Master, you must take the way of the sword as your cultivation path. The way of the sword conflicts with the mysteries of the world you currently comprehended. The two cannot exist together, or they'll affect your future cultivation greatly. Master, are you wondering why we did nothing to obstruct you when you went from the 7th heavenly layer to the 9th heavenly layer? Well, when your comprehension remains at the 9th heavenly layer, Qingzhua and I still had the ability to forcefully purge your comprehension of the mysteries of the world, allowing Master to embark on the way of the sword with no distractions in the future. But if Master reaches Saint King in terms of comprehension, it will be extremely difficult for Qingzhua and I to purge your comprehension. This is why you cannot reach Saint King. What? You even have to purge my comprehension later? Jianchen was astounded. In other words, I will lose all my comprehension of the mysteries of the world, including the Saint Ruler abilities I currently possess? Correct, but don't worry too much, Master. Once you embark on the way of the sword, you will discover that it is much more powerful than the mysteries of the world you are currently comprehending, said Ziying. Master, the way of the sword is publicly acknowledged as one of the most powerful pathways of cultivation. Before the way of the sword, the mysteries of the world are nothing. Unless the disparity in cultivation is vast, the way of the sword is invincible, said Qingzhua. Ziying, Qingzhua, is the way of the sword really as powerful as you've described it to be? If I do embark on the way of the sword, just what level of strength will I obtain? Jianchen was rather moved. He was a swordsman after all, so he had a special connection to the sword. The temptation he felt for the way of the sword just mentioned by Ziying and Qingzhua had reached a level that could even make him risk his life. Master, there are 5 major realms of cultivation for the way of the sword. They are Sword Origin, Sword Spirit, Sword Immortal, Sword Sage, and Sword God. These 5 realms do not represent certain levels of cultivation. They are like the Saint tier, Heaven tier, Earth tier, and Human tier battle skills on the Tianyuan continent. They represent great battle prowess and supreme offensive power. However, the way of the sword is far, far greater than those battle skills on the Tianyuan continent. The disparity is basically a huge chasm. Even the weakest sword origin far exceeds Saint tier battle skills by several times over. And once you reach the sword origin realm, every time you attack, every strike you make will far exceed the strength of Saint tier battle skills. At the same time, they are unlike the Saint tier battle skills, which consume vast amounts of energy when they are used, and cannot be used consecutively even by Saint Kings, explained Ziying. He paused slightly, pondering a little before continuing. The way of the sword is extremely suitable for Master. If Master embarks on this path of cultivation, you will possess a supreme advantage over others. If Master reaches the sword origin realm, Master will probably be no weaker than Saint Kings of the 9th heavenly layer, while Master will have no need to fear even Saint Emperors if you reach the sword spirit realm. Also, the battle prowess gained by these realms will increase as Master's base strength grows. The way of the sword was like a heaven tier battle skill. If it was given to an Earth Saint Master, they would be able to display the strength of a Heaven Saint Master. And if a 6th cycle Earth Saint Master cast it, they would even be able to heavily injure Heaven Saint Masters. At the same time, if the same Heaven tier battle skill was used by a Heaven Saint Master, the strength would be even greater. Once one of the 5 major realms was reached, battle prowess and offensive capabilities that would be increased, not the person's base strength. At the same time, this boosted battle prowess would increase with the growth of base strength. Jianshan currently possessed the battle prowess of a 7th heavenly layer Saint King, but this was brought upon by the Emperor armament. Without it, he would only be as powerful as a Saint King of the 3rd heavenly layer. That was Jianshan's base strength. Although his comprehension of the mysteries of the world was far below that, the energy within him had reached the 3rd heavenly layer, which he could also use as he willed. Jianshan immediately became filled with excitement because of what the sword spirits said. He no longer resented them for obstructing his attempt to reach Saint King. Instead, it was replaced by a powerful desire to learn the way of the sword. Master, do you still remember when you fought with Sarkayun outside the city of God? You entered a wondrous state during that fight, unintentionally dealing an attack that exceeded your current strength. That was actually the way of the sword, but only the edge of the 1st realm. It's just a pity that you don't have your fated swords, or Master would have reached the 1st realm long ago. Ziying's voice was filled with pity. Jianshan immediately thought back to when he fought Sarkayun, and reached an understanding. He murmured, "So I had touched the edge of the way of the sword back then. Now I know that that was actually the way of the sword." Jianshan looked forward to the way of the sword even more now. He felt like this was the cultivation pathway that suited him. Master, if you want to embark on the way of the sword, you need to obtain your fated swords. Only after successfully forging the azulate swords can you comprehend that pathway and reach sword origin, said Qing Suo. He also displayed much anticipation. Ever since the sword spirits took Jianshan as their master, and brought his soul to the Tianyuan continent, Jianshan's future cultivation pathway was destined to be the way of the sword. It was just that he had never possessed his fated swords, delaying the time when he would step on the way of the sword. This was why Jianshan was forced into a cultivation pathway that belonged to this world, so that he could survive. The sword spirits had also been waiting for the day when the azulate swords would be forged after all these years. Only by forging the azulate swords would Jianshan gain his fated swords, allowing him to truly begin his journey on the way of the sword. The azulate swords, the azulate swords. It's the azulate swords again. Jianshan became troubled. The materials for the swords were just too difficult to find. Every single one could only be found through luck, so he could not obtain them just because he needed them. Jianshan gently sighed. He would never give up no matter how hard it would be to find the materials. Not only was this because of the 2 supreme swords he had longed for, it was also so that he could successfully comprehend the way of the sword and enter the 1st major realm, sword origin. Ziying Qing Suo. Just how many materials do I lack before I can forge the azulate swords? Jianshan asked. There's still 4 more. We already have some leads for one of them. which is the Heaven's Soulstone Master came across when you faced the assassination of Yamahal. Although we've already obtained a little from that assassin, it's nowhere near enough, said Ziying. The Heaven's Soulstone and the Yamahal, Jianchen softly murmured as a gleam of cold light flashed through his eyes. There was no longer any point for Jianchen to stick around now that his breakthrough had been obstructed and that he could not reach Saint King. After checking on Bai Hai and the others, he roused Huang Wuan from her cultivation and bid farewell with Xiao Ling before leaving with Huang Wuan. Although he wanted to leave Huang Wuan there so she could continue her comprehension, the seal in Huang Wuan's head had not been erased yet. As a result, he wanted to take Huang Wuan to the Protector clan and find a method to remove the secret technique. He could bring Huang Wuan to the city at any time in the future and have Xiao Ling assist her in comprehending the mysteries of the world. Xiao Ling unwillingly bid farewell to Jianchen before sending Jianchen and Huang Wuan to the surface of the earth. When the two of them appeared, the disturbance from the rainbow clouds still lingered about, so they could hear discussions regarding the clouds everywhere. Jianchen, why are there so many people talking about 7-colored rainbow clouds and someone reaching Saint King? Are they talking about you? Have you reached Saint King now? Huang Wuan stared fixedly at Jianchen with her large eyes as she asked in surprise. Affection filled her eyes as she looked at him. Right now, Jianchen's head was filled with matters regarding the way of the sword and the azulate swords, so he had stopped caring about his failure to reach Saint King long ago. He could not help but smile after hearing what Huang Wuan had said. He replied completely unperturbed. They seem to be talking about me. I did indeed fail my breakthrough, so my comprehension is still at the 9th heavenly layer of Saint Ruler. Chapter 1080. Visiting the Protector clan. Jianchen, the failure isn't important. Your talent is supreme, so you'll reach Saint King sooner or later, Huang Wuan comforted. Her face was filled with concern. She seemed worried that Jianchen's failure would affect his state of mind. Jianchen smiled wryly inside when he heard her concern. Once he began his journey of the way of the sword spirits would forcefully purge his comprehension of the mysteries of the world. He would also lose all his abilities as a saint ruler. Right now, breaking through to Saint King was no longer important. Afterward, Jianchen and Huang Wuan visited the Grand Elder Tianjian, as well as Tai Ta, who always stayed there. They talked for a little before leaving Mercenary City. Jianchen and Huang Wuan returned to the Changyang clan in Lore City through a space gate created by Rui Jin. It had been 3 whole years since Jianchen had last visited the Changyang clan. During that period of time, nothing really changed about the clan, other than Jianchen's second brother, Changyang Ke. After seeking Jianchen's assistance that night, Jianchen had ordered an exclusive alchemist of Flame City to refine a 10,000-year heavenly resource into a pill and deliver it to the Changyang clan when he last visited Flame City. After ingesting the pill, Changyang Ke immediately underwent an overwhelming change. His ordinary talent was completely raised to the level of a genius. Not only did his strength increase, his rate of cultivation also became extremely fast. He had become a Earth Saint Master now, and he was at the 3rd cycle. At night, Jianchen and Huang Wuan arrived in the fragrant garden behind the clan. Huang Wuan had changed into a luxurious, snow-white dress in an attempt to dress like the young lady of a large clan. Any heroic spirits present on her had completely disappeared. She seemed more like a loving, considerate, and well-educated wife. Huang Wuan gently hugged Jianchen's arm. She leaned her head on Jianchen's shoulder as they slowly strolled through the garden. Her face was filled with happiness. Jianchen, I want to go the sea realm to cultivate after some time. The water-attributed energy there is extremely dense, so it's very suitable for my water spirit's body. I believe that if I cultivate there, the rate at which my strength will increase will not be slower than in Mercenary City. Huang Wuan looked at Jianchen tenderly as she spoke. Her voice was gentle and pleasant. Jianchen obviously did not turn down Huang Wuan's suggestion. The water spirit's body was different from ordinary constitutions. The effects of cultivating in a place with rich water-attributed energy would indeed be impressive, allowing someone with that constitution to comprehend the mysteries of the world in greater detail. Luaner, once I find a way to remove the seal in your head, I'll take you to the sea realm. As for your cultivation method, I have indeed found the first version of the scripture of the aquatic sunflower in the space ring of the Huanggu clan ancestor. However, it's only an elementary Saint tier cultivation method. Let me see if I can obtain a better Saint tier cultivation method, more suited for you from the sea goddess, after I return to the sea realm. I think she knows quite a few as one of the 4 supreme experts from ancient times, Jianchen caringly said. Huang Wuan had already become his woman both in name and in reality, so he needed to put all his effort into forging her future. Huang Wuan nodded obediently and sweetly smiled. She felt extremely moved with how much care Jianchen was showing. At the same time, she felt extremely satisfied. Jianchen's eyes suddenly froze at this moment. A delicate person in luxurious robes currently sat in a pavilion up ahead. Second aunt, Jianchen whispered inside. Although all he could see was her back, he could tell with a single glance that she was his second aunt, who had loved him like his own son since he was young. Jianchen and Huang Wuan hurried to the pavilion. Arriving before her, Jianchen asked, "Aunt, it's already so late. Why are you sitting here all by yourself?" Yu Fengyang sat in an utter daze. She seemed to have failed to notice Jianchen at all, so the sudden voice immediately caused her to jump in fright. She looked back instinctively, and when she discovered Jianchen, a forced smile appeared on her sorrow-ridden face. She said gently, "It's Xiangtian." Yu Fengyan seemed much more haggard than before, much different than the way she looked several years ago. Her gaze was filled with deep reminiscence. Jianchen felt rather horrible when he saw how Yu Fengyang had become. His second aunt had loved him very dearly when he was young. Although he was not her child, she treated him like her own, which was why she had taken up an extremely important position in Jianchen's heart long ago. "Aunt, are you all right? Have you begun thinking about sister again?" Jianchen asked in concern. He had learned about what had happened to his eldest brother and sister long ago. The accumulated longing and pain within Yu Fengyang gushed out uncontrollably when she heard Jianchen mention Changyang Mingyue. She began to sob painfully as tears poured from her eyes like a fountain. She cried from her loneliness. Jianchen's face darkened when he saw how painfully Yu Fengyan cried. He cared very much for his aunt, so he felt rather horrible seeing her like this. "I have no idea how Mingyue is right now. I haven't seen her in over a decade. Mingyue, I know you've become the holy maiden of the Ice God Hall now. When will you return to see your mother? It's been over a decade since I last saw you. I miss you so dearly," sobbed Yu Fengyan as her tears mixed with her voice. Jianchen watched his weeping aunt with mixed emotions. After a moment of silence, he sighed inside and then proceeded to comfort her. "Aunt, don't be like this. I haven't seen sister in over 10 years as well, so I also miss her very much. Once I finish with my matters in a few days, I'll take you to the Arctic to go find sister." Yu Fengyang's face froze when she heard that. What Jianchen had said was like a glimmer of hope in the dark to Yu Fengyang. Her gaze, which was filled with sorrow and reminiscence, stirred. She grabbed Jianchen's hand in a trembling manner and emotionally said, "Is that true? Xiangtian, are you really willing to bring me to Mingyue?" The Arctic did not belong to the Tianyuan continent. It was just like the Three Saint Island the heavenly enchantress inhabited. It was located across the sea, beyond the continent. The continent and the Arctic were separated by water, and it was much further away compared to Three Saint Island. Although Yu Fengyan was a madam of the Changyang clan patriarch, she possessed no real power in the world despite her status in the clan. Coupled with the fact that the Arctic was so far away, it was almost impossible for her to go looking for Changyang Mingyue. The distance was so great that even Heaven Saint Masters could not venture to the Arctic. Only Saint Rulers possessed the ability, and even they would find it costly to take this very long journey. Yu Fengyang's status in the clan was not at the level where she could ask a Saint Ruler to accompany her to the Arctic. "Aunt, don't worry. Once I deal with everything, I will definitely go to the Arctic Ice God Hall," swore Jianchen. He actually missed his sister very dearly as well. Other than Bai Yuntian, his sister treated Jianchen the best during his childhood, even far better than his own father, Changyang Ba. Jianchen and Huang Wuan accompanied Yu Fengyan back to her room after comforting her, before separating to their own rooms. The morning of the next day, Jianchun went to visit Kendall's wife and son. Their inn in Lore City was extremely famous. Everyone in the city knew about it. Its name had even spread throughout the entire kingdom. The inn was the safest inn in Lore City, possibly even in the entire kingdom. Fights and arguments would rarely occur there. And if there were people who dared to start a fight, a large group of mysterious experts would charge in from outside and throw them out without exception, sometimes even taking their lives. The inn was always protected by a group of mysteries experts. The identities of these people had already become a known secret in Lore City. Many people knew that they were members of the Chongyang clan. Over time, it led to extremely few conflicts in the inn. Some fleeing mercenaries had even treated the inn as a safe haven. Jianchun had already repaired San's saint weapon that had been destroyed by the people of the Yangji sect, allowing him to cultivate once more. He was no longer a cripple, and his talent was also improved by Jianchun through heavenly resources. As a result, his cultivation speed was extraordinary. Jianchun paid extra concern to the mother and son, almost to the point where he would care for the most trivial details. This was all so he could return Kendall's kindness. He had repaid Kendall's kindness countless times over to Sans and his mother. Bidding farewell to them, Jianchun returned to the Chongyang clan. Afterward, he left the city with Chongyang Zuyanshao, Chongyang Zuyian, Chongyang Zuyinkong, and Huang Wuan. They planned to visit the Chongyang Protector clan in order to remove the seal in Chongyang Zuyinkong's head, as well as to resolve the secret technique embedded in Huang Wuan. Chongyang Zuyanshao constructed a space gate with his abilities as a Saint King. After passing through it, Jianchun and Huang Wuan discovered they had arrived in the sky above an unknown, ancient mountain range. Chapter 1081. The bell of grand clarity chimes 9 times. Jianchun and Huang Wuan stood together 1,000 meters in the air as they observed their surroundings. Chongyang Zuyanshao, Chongyang Zuyian, and Chongyang Zuyunking stood beside them. They varied in expression. The couple were extremely excited, while Chongyang Zuyunkong was extremely dejected. He felt heavy-hearted. Jianchun, this is the main entrance to the Chongyang Protector clan. It's located on the eastern part of the continent, and Mercenary City is over 5 million kilometers away. The Protector clans possess the lengthiest histories on the continent, having surpassed 1 million years in age. They are much more ancient than Mercenary City. We had already become the 10 greatest clans before Mercenary City had even been built on the continent, Chongyang Zuyanshao explained to Jianchun. Although this was not Jianchun's first time hearing about the Protector clan's lengthy histories, he still felt astounded by how long they had existed. Jianchun, the 10 Protector clans of the continent all exist in other independent spaces. This space is described as a world by us. So it is a smaller world, no different than the Tianyuan continent, except for the fact that the energy of the world is much more abundant than the Tianyuan continent. As he said that, Chongyang Zuyanshao gently raised his right arm. A vast amount of energy shot out, before silently disappearing 100 meters away. The space there immediately began to ripple, and a 100-meter-tall gate suddenly appeared. A whole different landscape appeared on the other side of the gate. There were beautiful mountains and rivers, as well as various birds soaring through the sky and small beasts scurrying on the ground. It was a world virtually the same as the Tianyuan continent. Jianchun, this is the largest gateway into our Chongyang clan. It is called the World Gate, and it is rarely ever opened. However, whenever it is opened, it is because of a large-scale mobilization of the experts in the clan, or because someone of great status has come. Chongyang Zuyanshao stared deeply at Jianchun, wanting Jianchun to understand just how the Chongyang clan felt in regards to him. Jianchun examined the World Gate, but he failed to find anything special about it after looking around. He also lost interest as a result. He said, "Great-grandfather, great-grandmother, let's go in." "Go in with my father and mother, Jianchun. I'll be waiting outside," Chongyang Zuyunkong said with a dark expression. "Why can't you come in with us, great-grandfather?" Jianchun looked at Chongyang Zuyunkong in confusion. His main reason for visiting the clan this time around was to help Chongyang Zuyunkong remove the seal in his head. Chongyang Zuyunkong gently sighed and said nothing. He was in a horrible mood. Jianchen, it's true that Yunкang can't go in. As soon as he enters the clan, the emperor armament will lose control and lead to an utter disaster, sighed Changyang Zuyinshao. Jianchen stopped talking after hearing that. Holding Huang Wuan's hand, he entered the clan with the old couple. The giant world gate also vanished once they passed through it. The independent space of the Changyang clan is divided into the outer clan and inner clan. Jianchen, I originally planned to take you directly to the inner clan, but since it's your first time coming to the Protector clan, I'll take you through the outer clan and help you understand the exact layout of the Protector clan. We're currently in the outer clan. This is where all the ordinary clansmen live. They are at the bottom of the hierarchy, and there are many of them, at least several million. They all live in this city built by this mountain. In the clan space, there are many mountain ranges and thus countless magical beasts. Many clansmen will move in groups, and once they step out of the city, they can be slain by these magical beasts at any time. A portion of the people who live in the outer clan have been weeded out from the inner clan due to their poor talent, while the other group were born there. They will all grow and cultivate in the outer clan. People of the outer clan are only able to enter the inner clan if they become a Heaven Saint Master or exhibit great talent, where the cultivation environment is much better. As a result, there are very few Heaven Saint Masters present in the outer clan, since they have all been gathered by the inner clan. The members of the outer clan are no different than mercenaries on the continent. They hunt magical beasts for their monster cores, so that they can cultivate and feed off their flesh. They will struggle all year round on the road to Heaven Saint Master, so quite a few outer clan members fall to the mouths of magical beasts every year. Jianchen listened to Changyang Zuyinxiao's explanation as he flew toward the depths of the clan. As he passed over various mountain ranges, he would find a few members of the outer clan in intense battles with magical beasts. He could not help but think back when he was no different, trying to increase his strength. He killed magical beasts for their monster cores and ate them for food, paving a path out of magical beast corpses. He would live in forests filled with danger. Only those who had experienced this themselves could truly understand the difficulties. Jianchen also saw the city mentioned by Changyang Zuyinshao as he traveled. It was not an extraordinarily big city. It was covered in the marks of time, having stood for countless years. However, it continued to stand strong, and it was encased by a powerful barrier to protect the people living in it. Jianchen passed through the outer clan very soon, and arrived at the inner clan. The abundance of the energy of the world in the outer clan could only be compared to some blessed lands on the Tianyuan continent, while it was several times more abundant in the inner clan. The rate of cultivation in the inner clan is equivalent to using monster cores. The energy of the world here is extremely abundant, making it several times easier to cultivate. Jianchen sighed inside when he sensed the abundance of energy in the inner clan. A vast disparity existed between the inner and outer clan. At this moment, Jianchen suddenly narrowed his eyes. Some disbelief filled his face. He saw a piece of land floating in the sky. The land was huge, several dozen kilometers across. It was as large as a king city. People could be seen moving about everywhere among the structures constructed on the piece of land. Jianchen could even feel a few vast presences radiating carelessly from some closed buildings, and the number was astounding. The most eye-catching part was the very center of the piece of land. A palace several hundred meters tall stood there quietly like a slumbering primordial beast, radiating with an invisible pressure that would shock anyone. It seemed like the ruler of the piece of land. This floating piece of land is the center of our Changyang clan. It is where all our experts gather, and the divine hall in the center is where all the great elders cultivate. Other clansmen with superb talent are also allowed in. Changyang Zuyinshao explained from beside Jianchen. Dong! Suddenly a great chime rang out. The sound spread everywhere, and so did its echo, ringing magnificently through the entire space in which the clan inhabited. The moment the chime rang out, everyone on the floating piece of land stopped. They all stared at the sky in surprise. Dong! Dong! The chimes rang out 3 times consecutively, and when the third one rang out, many doors of the closed buildings suddenly opened. Various cultivators who lived in them emerged. This is the chime of the bell of grand clarity. It was made to welcome valued guests, and it hasn't rung for 100 years. I wonder which valued guest has come to visit our clan. It must be a great elder of some other protector clan. The bell has chimed 3 times. The person must be someone who can raise storms. Quite a few discussions broke out among the people who emerged. The chiming did not stop. More humongous sound waves swept through the space, reaching every corner of the clan. Very soon, it had chimed 6 times in total. A portion of the other buildings suddenly opened after the 6th chime. Saint rulers emerged as vast amounts of energy coiled around them. They stared at the sky in surprise, and one of them softly murmured, "It's been a whole century since the bell of grand clarity has rung. I remember last time. It was due to a visit from a great elder of the Tyrant's Blade School. And it only rang 3 times. Yet the bell has rung 6 whole times now. Is the guest the Grand Elder of Mercenary City? Probably only the Grand Elder of Mercenary City could make the bell ring 6 times nowadays. Has he really come to visit our clan?" A sagely old man said in surprise and suspicion, as his beard gently floated. Dong. This time, the bell chimed once more, summing to a total of 7 chimes. The entire clan fell into an uproar immediately after the 7th chime. At that moment, everyone who lived on the floating piece of land emerged from their residences. Even the people who had entered life or death seclusion forcefully came out, staring at the sky in shock. Dong! The giant divine hall that silently stood at the center of the land originally only had 2 small doors open on its sides. Yet with the 8th chime, its main entrance slowly opened up with a great rumble, and a simple but desolate presence began to radiate from the door. It seemed like it had not opened for a very long time. Afterward, 6 people of various ages stepped through the door. They all stared into the distance with a smile, before moving together. They took to the sky, going up to personally receive the guest. The 6 of them were all great elders of the clan. Dong! With the 9th chime, a large number of people had appeared on the floating piece of earth. All of them were in shock. The 9th chime of the bell of great clarity was only present in the records of the clan. It had not appeared for several tens of thousand years already, because it usually would only ring 9 times to welcome Saint Emperors. Chapter 1082. Making trouble after the 9th chime. Jianshen had arrived near the floating piece of earth with Changyang Zhu Yinshao. The 6 great elders of the Changyang clan stood in a row before them, smiling as they personally welcomed Jianshen. In order to welcome Jianshen, the Changyang clan had shown their sincerity. Not only did they chime the bell of grand clarity 9 times, even all the great elders of the clan had been mobilized. Only Saint Emperors could enjoy something like this. Ha 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 ha. Our most outstanding genius in all of history has finally returned. Changyang Xiangtian, I, Changyang Qing Yin, welcome you on behalf of all the clansmen. A merry but sagely old man chuckled at Jianshen among the 6. He was extremely joyful. Changyang Qing Yin was the most senior member of the Qing branch, as well as the most powerful person in the entire clan. He was the only one who had reached the great perfection of Saint King in the clan, having been stuck at the bottleneck of Saint Emperor for many years now. Jianshen, allow me to introduce the other great elders. Changyang Zhu Yinshao stepped forward and introduced the remaining 5 people to Jianshen. Jianshen finally gained some understanding regarding the identities of the great elders with each introduction. Of the 7 great elders, there were 2 great elders from Zhu branch as well as the Yuan branch, while the Qing branch was the most powerful. They had 3 great elders. The great elders of the Zhu branch were the 2 people Jianshen was already familiar with, Changyang Zhu Yinshao and Changyang Zhu Shao. The 2 great elders from the Yuan branch were called Changyang Yuan Wuji and Changyang Yuan Zhenghua. Other than Changyang Qing Yin, Jianshen had met the other 2 great elders of the Qing branch as well. One of them was Changyang Qing Juri, who had come to Lore City to obtain the Bright Moon Divine Hall, while the final person was the same great elder, who had been trapped in the Bright Moon Divine Hall a few years ago. He was Changyang Qing Yinfeng. After Changyang Zhu Yinxiao's introduction, Changyang Qing Juri said, Yinxiao, you should call him Changyang Xiangtian. After all, that's a more suitable name. Let's discard the name Jianchen. From today onwards, there is only Changyang Xiangtian on the continent, and no Jianchen. Changyang Qing Jury's gaze towards Jianchen hid an unperceivable coldness. Ha ha ha, Jury, you've put it well. Since Changyang Xiangtian has returned to the clan, we obviously should refer to him with his surname. Let's discard the name of Jianchen today. Changyang Qing Yin agreed with a smile. Changyang Qing Feng Yin and the two great elders of the Yuan branch all nodded in agreement as well, approving of the suggestion very much. Changyang Zhu Yinshao remained silent and did not comment, while Changyang Zhu Yinshao furrowed his brows. A slightly troubled expression filled his face as he turned to Jianchen. Great-grandson, how do you feel about that? It was very rare for Changyang Zhu Yinshao to refer to Jianchen like that, but he placed some stress on great-grandson this time. He seemed to be showing off to the great elders of the other two branches that the unprecedented genius who had been received by the 9 chimes of the bell was his own great-grandson. Jianchen's face remained the same, and he replied without an extra thought. No, Jianchen is my name. I will not be changing my name. I do not oppose the name of Changyang Xiangtian, but it is only a second name. Jianchen answered unswervingly, leaving no room for discussion. His name was not something that could be changed just because they had said so. After all, the name came from the memories of his past life. The amicable smile on the great elders' faces quickly vanished. They furrowed their brows slightly and seemed to be displeased. However, Changyang Zushao stepped forward. The name is just a way of reference, so there's no need to pay so much heed to it. Plus, the name Jianchen has been used by my great-grandson for a very long time, and it's already renowned throughout the continent. How can it be changed so easily? The great elders of the other two branches no longer dwelled on the matter. With Changyang Zuzhao's mediation, they all showed their consent with their silence. Jianchen was their junior, but the strength he possessed was something that even protector clans dared not to look down upon. Even when ignoring his strength and shocking talent, just the winged tiger god was enough for them to treat him carefully. Not to mention, Jianchen had the support of Rui Jin and He Yu, two supreme experts who could rival saint emperors. Great elders, since I have already come to the clan as promised, may I ask if the seal in great-grandfather Yunkong's head can be removed? Jianchen said. There's no hurry at all. Xiangtian, since you've returned to the clan, there needs to be a welcoming ceremony. We'll remove the seal after we hold this ceremony, said Changyang Qing Juri. In my opinion, I think we should first remove the seal in my great-grandfather's head before holding this ceremony. It's not like it'll take a lot of time. Jianchen held strong, putting Changyang Zhu Yinkong as the priority. Changyang Zhu Yinshao and Changyang Zhu Xiao both gently smiled when they heard that. Meanwhile, the 5 other great elders all became stunned. They had all become rather unhappy with Jianchen's demanding tone time and time again. Although Jianchen's talent was great, and his strength could not be underestimated, he was still their junior after all. As great elders of a protector clan, they had never been ordered around by a junior like this. Changyang Zhu Yinshao gazed past the other great elders, and a sliver of anger flickered through his eyes. He clearly said, "The 7 of us made an agreement before. If Yunkong brought Xiangtian back to the clan, the 7 of us would remove the seal from Yunkong's head. Now that Xiangtian has returned, it's about time for us to follow through with what we said. Great elders, let's go remove the seal in Konger first, or wouldn't we be eating our words?" The 2 great elders of the Yuan branch found what Changyang Zhu Yinshao said to be reasonable. As a result, one of them agreed. All right, let's go remove the seal in Yunkong's head first. The 3 great elders of the Qing branch could only follow along since the Yuan branch had agreed. The 7 great elders all left the independent space soon after that, going to the outside world to remove the seal in Changyang Zhu Yunkong's head. Only Changyang Zhu Yiyin was left to guide Jianchen. Jianchen Huangwan, come with me. I'll go introduce you to a few important figures of the clan, smiled Changyang Zhu Yiyin. Before descending with the 2 of them, they landed on the floating piece of earth below. As soon as Jianchen touched the ground, he was surrounded by a large group of people from all directions. Soon, they were surrounded by crowds of people, as all of them curiously observed the unfamiliar Jian Chen and Huang Wan. They were suspicious. I only recognize great-grandmother Yayan among the three of them. Who are the other two? Are the male and female standing beside Yayan the people who were welcomed with the 9 chimes? Even the reputed Grand Elder of the mercenary city has only received 6 chimes to welcome him. Yet these two unfamiliar people are worthy of 9 chimes. Are they both Saint Emperors? I haven't left the clan in a very long time, but I do know a little about the outside. It's said that the Tianyuan continent currently has the Path Lord of Carnal Desires as its only Saint Emperor. Is this young man him, the Path Lord of Carnal Desires? Impossible. He's definitely not the Path Lord of Carnal Desires. When the Beast God continent invaded our continent on a large scale before, I personally saw the Path Lord. That young man definitely isn't him. If he's not the Path Lord, then who is he? The surroundings buzzed with discussions as many people guessed at Jian Chen's identity. Changyang Xiangtian, it's actually you. Suddenly, a high-pitched scream rang out from the crowd. An elegant, middle-aged woman threateningly walked over with 2 ladies who possessed sculpture's K features and seemed to be in their 20s. Jian Chen turned to the source of the sound and recognized the 3 women with a single glance. They were the people who had gone with Changyang Qing Juri to Lore City in attempt to obtain the Bright Moon Divine Hall. The 3 women paid no attention to everyone's surprised gazes. They walked up to Jian Chen. She put her hands on her hips as she said in a snobbish manner, "And who did I think it was?" So it's the junior, Changyang Xiangtian, who has no regard for his seniors. Changyang Xiangtian, I never thought that you would be so rude and enter our protector clan in such an arrogant fashion. You sure have surprised me. Changyang Zuyian's face immediately sank when she heard that. She became furious, while even Jian Chen's face sank as well. Huang Wan furrowed her brows and frowned. She also seemed unhappy. Leng Shuang, do you recognize this brother? Who is he? From behind, a hunchbacked old man asked with a husky voice. The middle-aged woman treated the old man with a lot of respect. Her expression immediately changed and she mildly said, Uncle Fangyu, you've been in seclusion for many years, so you definitely won't know about Changyang Xiangtian. Changyang Xiangtian's the offspring of Changyang Zuyinkong, who was exiled from the clan due to his wrongdoings. At such a young age, he completely disregards his elders just because he has some strength. He's arrogant, unlike the descendant of a powerful clan at all. Last time, when I went with Great Elder Juri, who personally went to the Tianyuan continent to visit him, this arrogant Changyang Xiangtian actually recklessly dismissed Great Elder Juri. How dare he? Yeah, Changyang Xiangtian has gone overboard. Doesn't he even think about who he is? Isn't he just a junior from someone that has been exiled from the clan? A mighty great elder of a protector clan would lower himself and travel great distances just to visit him in the tiny Lore City. Sure, Changyang Xiangtian has no idea about what is good for himself. But he actually behaved so disrespectfully, dismissing Great Elder Juri, who is admired by everyone. He cannot be forgiven. One of the younger women spoke righteously as she pointed at Jian Chen. Chapter 1083. Patience wearing thin. Everyone in the surroundings immediately gained an understanding of Jian Chen, and their gazes toward him all underwent some changes. I never thought that Changyang Xiangtian was actually like that. He doesn't even respect his elders. How dare he disrespect his elders? He even dared to dismiss Great Elder Juri. He cannot be forgiven. I really do wonder how such a disrespectful and immoral person can enter our protector clan. He was even personally welcomed by the great elders and received the 9 chimes of the Bell of Grand Clarity. In my opinion, Changyang Xiangtian probably has some powerful person supporting him, which is why he's able to act so unrestrained. The 9 chimes earlier were probably not for Changyang Xiangtian, but the person behind him, in my opinion. Soft discussions appeared in the surroundings. All the clansmen began to point at Jian Chen after hearing the middle-aged woman's explanation, and behaved as if they did not welcome him at all. There were even some people who looked at Jian Chen with hostility. Changyang Zuyin cracked very soon after listening to the discussion regarding Jian Chen. She called out, "All of you shut up. Not only is Changyang Xiangtian the most outstanding genius of our clan in all of history, he's a valued guest of the clan at the same time. Someone who is welcomed by 9 chimes of the bell of grand clarity isn't someone you can make judgments on so easily. Yeyan, I know that Changyang Xiangtian's a descendant of your son Yunкong. This is why you're protecting him. To be honest, if Changyang Xiangtian, this disrespectful, arrogant person, wants to remain in the Protector clan, I'll be the first one to disagree, the middle-aged woman coldly replied. She seemed to think of something, and gently sighed. I wonder if the esteemed great elders have become confused today or not. To use 9 chimes of the bell to welcome a disrespectful junior, who even dares to dismiss a great elder. Changyang Zuyin became so furious she began to tremble. Her face was bleak as she glared at Changyang Lingshuang. She coldly said, Lingshuang, the only thing that is respected on the Tianyuan continent is strength. Changyang Xiangtian has the ability to dismiss anyone in the Protector clan, and with his current abilities, he should be enjoying a treatment like the 9 chimes. Yeyan, don't bring up the matters of the Tianyuan continent. Why don't you open up your eyes and look at where we are? This is the Protector Changyang clan, not some Tianyuan continent. Changyang Lingshuang coldly responded. She thought inside, Changyang Xiangtian, don't think that just because you have some abilities you can overlook us seniors. I've already shown you enough respect back in Lore City, yet you didn't appreciate it at all, and are showing no respect to us seniors again. It's not my fault if that's the case. I know you're very strong, but the Protector clan is not a place where you can act without restraint. Jianchen calmly stood with his arms crossed. He stared nonchalantly at Changyang Lingshuang and said, You're Changyang Lingshuang, right? Jianchen's voice was rather icy, and it possessed no emotion whatsoever. However, what he said was a great provocation, and was without a doubt scornful in Changyang Lingshuang's ears. She immediately became enraged as she screamed, Changyang Xiangtian, you disrespectful descendant! How dare you refer to me by my name? Are all the seniors of the clan nothing in your eyes? Changyang Lingshuang looked around at the crowd as anger filled her face. She continued, Look everyone, just which rule of the clan has Changyang Xiangtian broken already? As soon as Changyang Lingshuang finished talking, she became surprised. In that moment, she felt like the surrounding temperature had plummeted, as if she had been thrown into a cavern of ice. Her feet and hands immediately grew cold. The next moment, a suffocating feeling suddenly appeared. Her neck had already been tightly grasped by Jianchen's hands, preventing her from breathing. Her face immediately became rather pale. The unpleasant sound of choking came from her throat. She had lost her ability of speech now that her neck was being tightly grasped. She felt astounded inside as she gave Jianchen a death glare with her wide eyes. She struggled to believe just how bold Jianchen was, to move against her even in the Protector clan. Jianchen tightly grasped her neck, as the powerful grip of his right hand crushed her neck forcefully. Without showing any mercy just because she was female, he said, Changyang Lingshuang, do you really think that I won't do anything to you just because we're in the Protector clan right now? I can kill you even here. Everyone fell silent at that moment. They all stared at Jianchen in shock as disbelief flooded their face. No one had ever thought that Jianchen would actually be so reckless, conducting such a treacherous action before everyone as a junior. Release Auntie Lingshuang. At this moment, the 2 women who always followed Changyang Lingshuang finally returned to their senses. Without any fear, they drew their saint weapons and stabbed at Jianchen as hard as they could. A sharp light flickered through Jianchen's eyes, and the surrounding space froze in that instance. He used his abilities as a saint ruler to forcefully immobilize the 2 women. Bang! The next moment, the frozen space violently shook before suddenly shattering. The 2 women both flew back after vomiting a mouthful of blood. They were heavily injured, and were caught by 2 old men in the end. The 2 old men were both saint rulers. After quickly checking over the 2 women, their expressions changed, and they furiously yelled at Jianchen, How dare you Changyang Xiangtian? How dare you act so recklessly, and injure people from the Protector clan? Everyone, let's capture this arrogant bastard. The 2 old men charged at Jianchen. Powerful presences radiated from every part of them. They had no intentions of holding back. Several other saint rulers in the crowd also became furious and charged at Jianchen. Just as a wrinkly old man wanted to charge up to teach Jianchen a solid lesson, he was suddenly stopped by a middle-aged man. The old man could not help but call out furiously, "What are you stopping me for? Move, I want to teach that disrespectful junior a solid lesson." "Old man, it's best if you don't take part. That junior's something else. We can't afford to provoke him." The middle-aged man used a communication technique as he stared at Jianchen in deep fear. Similar occurrences happened elsewhere. Throughout various parts of the crowd, a few other people who wanted to teach Jianchen a lesson were stopped by their good friends. There were still some people who knew things about Jianchen in the Protector clan. There were not many of them, but everyone who did understand Jianchen's abilities helped out their friends. Even though a few saint rulers were stopped by their companions, 5 saint rulers, who didn't understand the depth of Jianchen's abilities, angrily charged at him. They reached for Jianchen with their powerful hands, trying to capture him. Meanwhile, the 2 old men who had caught the ladies had drawn their saint weapons. Energy rippled from the weapons as one of them stabbed at Jianchen. The other one chopped at Jianchen's arm, that was mercilessly holding Changyang Qinglingshuang by the throat. He wanted to sever Jianchen's entire right arm. Even though Jianchen faced the attacks from 5 saint rulers at the same time, he did not panic at all. He remained composed, except his gaze became colder. It turned into a glare. "You want to harm me, mere saint rulers? You overestimate yourselves," Jianchen growled. His voice was clearly heard by everyone. A few people who did not know who Jianchen was felt shocked when they heard his cold and arrogant words. They all thought that Jianchen was extremely arrogant inside, where he even looked down on saint rulers, and even provoked them by labeling them as overestimating their own abilities. Jianchen's grasp on Changyang Qinglingshuang's neck remained tight, while his empty hand curled into a fist. Without even looking at the 5 saint rulers, he threw a punch at the saint weapon that chopped toward his arm. Jianchen's punch possessed unbelievable speed. The instant it began moving, it temporarily disappeared. The punch contained Jianchen's 9th heavenly layer comprehension of space, so it contained spatial force. It struck the saint weapon instantly. Bang! The collision made a muffled sound. Jianchen's fist was like a tough piece of diamond. His fist remained unscathed after colliding, while the saint ruler was blown back along with his saint weapon. In the middle of the air, there was the sounds of bones breaking, and his right arm slumped down powerless. The bones in his arm had been shattered by Jianchen's punch. Jianchen's body was tough enough to endure a full-powered attack from a saint ruler's saint weapon. And not only did he come out unscathed, he had even knocked the opponent away with a single punch. Jianchen did not hesitate after that. He continued with another punch, striking the second old man with his saint weapon. He too was knocked away with his saint weapon, ending up just like the first old man. His arm was shattered as well. Against mere saint rulers, Jianchen had no need to use his sword since it would be going overboard. Just his bare hands were enough, and he would create a deterrence by just using his hands. At this moment, 3 other old men arrived beside Jianchen. 6 powerful hands locked onto Jianchen's joints on all his limbs, and they pulled at the same time. The old men wanted to dislocate Jianchen's limbs, but the next moment, all 3 of them became astounded. Shock flashed through their eyes. They suddenly discovered that they did not feel like they had grabbed a joint, but a piece of steel instead. No matter how much force they used, they could not move them at all. With their strength, even if it was a piece of steel, it would immediately change shape just with their grip. Yet Jianchen's bones were actually countless times tougher than steel. Their fingers had even begun to ache slightly from their use of force. Yet Jianchen's bones did not move at all. My God, what is this body? Probably even magical beasts don't have a body this tough. The 3 old men all became extremely shocked. Chapter 1084. Inauguration. With a deep bellow, chaotic force surged within Jianchen, and a powerful force shot out. It shook off the 3 saint rulers that had grabbed him. Jianchen exploded with the strength of the 3rd layer of the chaotic body. It was equivalent to the 3rd heavenly layer of Saint King. far greater than anything saint rulers could withstand. The 3 saint rulers all shot back as they vomited blood, now heavily injured. A few people immediately flew out of the crowd to catch the injured people. When they checked their injuries, their expressions changed in surprise. Do you really think that I won't do anything to you just because we're in the Protector clan? I'll spare your lives this time considering we are in the same clan and come from the same ancestor. If something like this happened on the Tianyuan continent, your lives would be dancing at my fingertips, Jianchen coldly said as he glanced past the 5 saint rulers. He showed them no respect, nor did he bother to ask which branch they were from. To Jianchen, he recognized no one else in the Protector clan other than Changyang Zhu Yinshao and Changyang Zhu Yiyun. With a wave of his hand, Changyang Qing Lingshuang was thrown toward the crowd like the carcass of a pig. His eyes so cold and sharp they appeared like knives. As Jianchen said, Changyang Qing Lingshuang, it's best if you hold back your pride as a member of a Protector clan and not flaunt your seniority. Otherwise, I can kill you even if you have the Path Lord of Carnal Desires supporting you. No one went to catch Changyang Qing Lingshuang. She hit the ground heavily in the end and became caked in soil. She was reduced to a rather horrible condition. Although it was packed with people right now, only a deathly silence existed. No one said anything, all stunned by Jianchen's strength and arrogance. 5 saint rulers had personally moved together, yet they were injured in such an easy fashion. They were even more fragile than Tofu. Moreover, the one who did all that did not even fear the Path Lord of Carnal Desires, which had shocked all of them deeply. As one of the Protector clans, the Changyang clan was one of 10 most powerful clans on the Tianyuan continent. They were in existence close to being divine, dignified and supreme. They were admired and looked up to by people. They had welcomed a junior today with 9 chimes of the bell of grand clarity. So was that junior really a saint emperor? Changyang Qing Lingshuang was extremely prideful since young. Coupled with her impressive talent, she was greatly favored by Changyang Qing Yin. And along with the fact that the Qing branch was the strongest of the 3, she believed that she towered over everyone else. She immediately lost her rationality due to anger. She had been embarrassed before everyone, so she obviously ignored Jianchen's threats, screaming out, Changyang Xiangtian, how dare you lay your hands on a senior? Where are the disciplinary elders? Where are they? Why don't you quickly tie up this disrespectful person and hand him over to the great elders for punishment? Changyang Qing Lingshuang was no longer as glorious as before. She was currently disheveled while her clothes were soiled, even ripped in some places. She seemed more like a beggar. A middle-aged saint ruler covered her mouth, but his hand was flung away mercilessly. She was like an angered lion right now, except she had yet to charge up to Jian Chun and maul him. 6 well-dressed, dignified, and righteous old men walked out of the crowd together. They stared at Jian Chun with mixed emotions and felt troubled. The 6 of them were disciplinary elders of the Changyang clan. They were all saint rulers of the 9th heavenly layer, and their status and authority was only second to the great elders. Disciplinary elders, why don't you quickly punish this disrespectful clansman? Changyang Qing Lingshuang had become irrational from her anger, but she still knew that she was not Jianchen's opponent. As a result, she yelled at the 6 old men. The disciplinary elders all sighed inside. They understood Jianchen extremely well. When he had returned from the Sea Realm a few years ago, they had all personally witnessed the great disturbances that had occurred on the continent. They knew that he was young, but he was someone that even the 10 Protector clans wished not to offend. They obviously dared not to intentionally offend Jianchen. The disciplinary elders arrived before Changyang Qing Lingshuang, and one of them extended a finger to her neck. She was silenced, and the old man then gently sighed. Lingshuang, how can you offend a valued guest that was welcomed by 9 chimes from the bell of grand clarity? Today it is all your fault. Once the great elders return, we will tell them what has happened. The 6 of them did not say the same thing to the 5 injured saint rulers, however. They were not thick-headed. They knew exactly who they could afford to offend, and who not to. 7 vast presences appeared in the distance. The 7 great elders of the clan had all returned from outside, arriving on the floating piece of earth very quickly. Looking around, they immediately discovered that something was off. One of them asked with a deep voice, "What has happened?" The 6 disciplinary elders immediately reported to them about what had happened. They reported Jian Chen's deeds as lightly as possible, placing almost all the blame on Changyang Qinglingshuang. The 6 disciplinary elders were normally just and straightforward people, but they knew how to talk at moments like this. Changyang Qinglingshuang stamped her feet and became flustered on one side. Her face was filled with an unwillingness for this to occur, and a feeling of being wronged. It was just a pity that she could not talk, and that she was immobilized by 2 disciplinary elders beside her. She received no chance to challenge what they had said. Changyang Qingyun slightly frowned after the disciplinary elders gave their report. However, before he could speak out, Changyang Zuxiao growled, "Changyang Qinglingshuang, you cannot be forgiven for treating a valued guest like this. Disciplinary elders, immediately imprison her in the 1,000-year ice cavern for 100 years. Yes, sir." The disciplinary elders bowed in response. The 3 great elders of the Qing branch frowned even more, Changyang Qingyun in particular. A sliver of anger had even appeared in his eyes. Changyang Qinglingshuang was one of the most talented members of his Qing branch. Imprisoning her in the 1,000-year ice cavern was like robbing her of 100 years of cultivation. The 7 others who dared to attack the valued guest will be imprisoned for 100 years too, Changyang Zuxiao continued. He was extremely solemn, to the point where he could not be denied. In the end, Changyang Qinglingshuang, the 2 women who followed her, and the 5 saint rulers, all suffered severe punishments. Those who wanted to punish Jian Chen, but were stopped in the end, all sighed inside for their luck. "Great-grandson, are you satisfied with this sentence?" Changyang Zuxiao's seriousness vanished as he smiled amicably at Jian Chen. Jian Chen slightly nodded. "Has the seal in great-grandfather Yunкong's head been removed?" "My great-grandson, it's all because of you that the seal torturing Conger for so many years has been successfully removed. From today on, Conger can finally continue his cultivation." Changyang Zuyunxiao chuckled aloud. He was relieved. After talking some more, Jian Chen was brought to the divine hall by the great elders. Huang Wan was left outside with Changyang Zuyiyun. Soon after, a great voice boomed from within, echoing through the entire independent space. "From today on, Changyang Zuxiangtian of the Zhu branch will be a great elder of our Changyang clan, the 8th great elder." The announcement was made by the 7 great elders together. They declared Jian Chen's identity, but they added the extra character Zhu in Changyang Xiangtian to indicate he was a member of the Zhu branch. Once the news broke out, the clan was immediately thrown into an uproar. Various discussions broke out everywhere, though around half of them were objections. After all, Jian Chen was still an outsider in the eyes of many people. Immediately, a group of people who didn't approve of Jian Chen's inauguration as a great elder gathered together, objecting the matter outside the majestic divine hall. However, their objections were clearly nothing before the 7 great elders. They weren't able to do anything at all. The 7 great elders stepped forward together to quell the crowd. The 7 great elders possessed absolute authority in the Changyang clan. They represented everything. As long as they all agreed, they could decide everything for the clan. Jian Chen possessed the strength of a 7th heavenly layer Saint King, and by his side stood the winged tiger god, as well as Rui Jin and Heiyu, 2 supremely powerful experts. It was impossible for the protector Changyang clan to not pour everything they had to pull someone like that to their side. Once Jian Chen became a member of the protector clan, the great power in his hands would also fall into the hands of the protector clan. Not to mention, Jian Chen's fiancée Yu Yu had been accepted by Fairy Hao Yu as a disciple. She had obtained the Bright Moon Divine Hall, and her future accomplishments were unfathomable. On the top floor of the Divine Hall was a grand and majestic hall. It was well decorated, where the level of extravagance far exceeded the imperial palaces of the 3 great empires. This was the ancestral hall of the protector Changyang clan. The hall was filled with memorial plates, reaching an innumerable about. All of these people were former great elders of the clan, and there was no lack in saint emperors among them. However, all of them had passed away already. Jian Chen stood with the 7 great elders in a row, before the vast numbers of memorial plates. They paid respects to the people that the plates represented, since they were all ancestors of the clan. Jianchen had expected this to happen before he had come to the clan. He did not want to take up the position of great elder in the clan. But a single sentence from Changyang Zhu Yinkong changed his mind. Great-grandson, you are a member of our Zhu branch. You will become the glory of our branch. Jianchen changed his mind because of that exact sentence. He did not reject his inauguration as great elder, as all of it was to glorify his great-grandfather Changyang Zhu Yinkong. All right, the ceremony has come to completion. Great-grandson, we should take you to the library of the clan next. All the records collected throughout the years by the clan are there, including many matters regarding secrets that happened in the past. There are also various cultivation methods, saint-tier battle skills, and the experience and comprehensions left behind by ancestors. Now that you've become a great elder of the clan, you have the right to view these records, smiled Changyang Zhu Shao. He felt glad inside. Jianchen's interest was piqued. He was extremely interested in the records of secrets from the past. He did not really care about the cultivation methods or saint-tier battle skills, since they were not suitable for him at all. Jianchen did not visit the library immediately. He said, Great elders, someone has planted an ancient secret technique on Luaner that ties Luaner's fate with his own. May I ask if you have a method to remove it? Chapter 1085. Treasure of the Protector Clans. There are countless ancient secret techniques, as well as many that share the same name. Some are extremely simple while others are extraordinarily profound. Xiangtian, let's check and see what ancient secret technique it is first, said Changyang Yuan Wuji. Jianchen left the ancestral hall with the 7 great elders and invited Huang Wan inside. They gathered in the discussion hall on the first floor. The 7 great elders gathered around Huang Wan, as they all pointed a finger at her head. They used a secret technique to sense the technique embedded in Huang Wan's soul. A while later, the 7 of them opened their eyes simultaneously. They all began to frown slightly. This ancient secret technique is quite complicated. It was planted directly onto her soul and has almost fused with it. It's extremely difficult to remove. Changyang Yuan Zhenghua gently sighed. He was filled with a sense of helplessness. Does that mean even you cannot help me remove this secret technique? Jianchen became rather flustered inside. Everyone fell silent for a while before Changyang Zhu Shao said, I remember an ancient secret technique called the Void Soul Transcendence that can remove this secret technique. Though the ancient secret technique is just too profound, so I don't know it. A sliver of despair appeared in Jianchen's eyes. I just happen to know the Void Soul Transcendence. Xiangtian, why don't you let me try it? Changyang Qingyin suddenly said. He was very calm right now as he gently smiled. He seemed to have completely forgotten about the displeasures from before. Jianchen hesitated slightly, before allowing Changyang Qingyin to try as he had no other choice in the end. However, he mentioned that he wanted to watch over the entire process. Jianchen, breaking ancient secret techniques planted directly on the soul is extremely dangerous. I need to devote all my focus onto it, and I cannot risk any disturbances, or the consequences will be unthinkable. It's best if you wait outside for the safety of your beloved. Moreover, you're a great elder of the clan now. We're all one big family, and I'm your great-grandfather by seniority as well. Don't you trust your great-grandfather? Changyang Qingyin turned down Jianchen's request to watch over on one side, before entering a room in the Divine Hall with Huang Wan. Jianchen worried for Huang Wan, so he immediately extended his presence beyond his body to follow Changyang Qingyin. However, every inch off the Divine Hall was filled with the Divine Hall's power, so Jianchen's presence could not extend past the obstructions. It was suppressed. Helpless inside, Jianchen could only sit and wait there. The other great elders also stayed there with him. Only Changyang Qingjuri left due to some matters. Xiangtian, don't worry. Great Elder Qingyun's abilities are fantastic. He's reached great perfection for many years already, so he can be described as someone with a foot planted in Saint Emperor already. With him acting personally, even if Huang Wan's seal can't be broken, she'll still come out unscathed. comforted Changyang Yuan Zhenghua. He had no negative opinion of Jianchen. Jianchen waited for 3 days, but Huang Wuan and Changyang Qingyin did not emerge. He did not even receive a single piece of news. So, in the end, out of boredom, he was taken around the clan again by Changyang Zhu Yunxiao. Changyang Zhu Yunxiao led Jianchen around on the floating piece of earth, explaining to him a few rules of the clan, as well as some interesting events that occurred in the past. The two of them came across many clansmen of the inner clan, who called out and bowed to Changyang Zhu Yunxiao. Although Jianchen was also a great elder, no one showed any respect to him. Jianchen did not care at all. He continued beside Changyang Zhu Yunxiao and listened to his explanations. Mom, is that person beside great elder Yunxiao the outsider, Changyang Xiangtian? Jianchen heard a young voice at this moment. Several hundred meters to his left, there was a boy, roughly 6 or 7 years of age, pointing at Jianchen as he spoke to a middle-aged woman. Qinglin, be quiet, or you'll suffer a similar severe punishment. The middle-aged woman quickly covered the boy's mouth before glancing in Jianchen's direction in fear. The boy was young and fearless, so he rejected what his woman said. He righteously said, Mom, I'm not scared. Great-grandfather Tianying was injured by Changyang Xiangtian and then locked up. Changyang Xiangtian is a bad guy. He's a big bad guy. He's not good. MMM. The boy got louder as he spoke, but the woman became quite terrified. She quickly covered his mouth and left with him in a hurry. Jianchen glanced at the boy before sighing inside. In front, there were a few young Heaven Saint masters that walked past as well. They seemed to be roughly Jianchen's age. I greet the great elder. The young man all bowed courteously to Changyang Zhu Yunxiao, but their gazes toward Jianchen were not so kind. The protector clan was separated from the world, so almost all the younger members of the clan had not stepped upon the Tianyuan continent. Only a portion of the senior members had gone out, so they had no clue about the brutality and laws of survival outside. As a result, they did not accept that strength reigned supreme. With their understanding, respect was based on seniority and had nothing to do with personal strength. They all disagreed very much with the fact that Jianchen had become a great elder at such a young age. At Jianchen's age, any single person in the inner clan was his senior. Great-grandson, don't get too mad. The protector clan has been separated from the world for too long, which has caused the members of the younger generation to deteriorate. Looks like choosing to become a hermit clan was not a smart choice. We should let these juniors wander the Tianyuan continent more often and witness the brutal world. Changyang Zhu Yunxiao sighed. Jianchen paid no mind to them. Although he was someone who would always collect his debts, he was not petty. What's that place? Suddenly, Jianchen's eyes froze, and he focused on something in the distance. Within a mountain range beyond the floating island, the space constantly twisted as a vast, devastating aura radiated. That's the forbidden grounds of our clan, the place where the emperor armament is nourished. There are no clansmen that can approach it except for the great elders. Let's go and have a look. With that, Changyang Zhu Yunxiao led Jianchen in that direction. The forbidden grounds are surrounded by layer upon layer of formations for protection. They were cast down by previous saint emperors, used specifically restraining the emperor armament, as well as the powerful sword qi and pressure that radiates from it all year round. Changyang Zhu Yunxiao explained as he moved. Jianchen passed through the many formations, and as soon as he arrived inside, a vast pressure swept forward. Coupled with it was surging sword qi, which made him shudder inside. At the center of the forbidden grounds was a huge ancient sword stabbed into the ground. The tip of the sword was buried, and the hilt pointed to the sky. It possessed a supreme presence, as if it could split the sky and rival the heavens. It was filled with a domineering presence. Jianchen became extremely serious as he stood before the emperor armament. He said with a deep voice, "What a powerful emperor armament! My emperor armament is just too weak. Before it, I even feel that I have already been defeated. Unbelievable." Changyang Zhu Yunxiao examined the emperor armament with mixed emotions and sighed. This emperor armament existed when our clan was first founded. It was left behind by the founder, our first saint emperor. It has already existed for more than 1,000,000 years. An extremely ancient technique was left behind with the founder's emperor armament. It recorded the method to nourish the emperor armament. Once every saint emperor of our clan passes away from cultivation, they will leave behind their emperor armaments and fuse them with the emperor armament through the method left behind by the founder. After countless years, we have never been without saint emperors except in recent years. At our peak, we even had more than 10 of them existing at the same time. So over 100 saint emperors have appeared in our clan's history. That means that over 100 emperor armaments have been fused with the founder's emperor armament. Its power is unimaginable now and requires multiple saint emperors to control it. But even with that, it's impossible to use all of its power. At the same time, they will sustain extremely severe backlash that's extremely difficult to recover from. If we control it for too long, everyone's life may even fall into danger, and we might even die as a result. Jianchen was deeply shocked with that. He felt extremely fearful of the emperor armaments of the protector clans. They could only be controlled by multiple saint kings. And even with all those saint kings, not all of its power could be used. The controllers would even suffer severe backlashes. So Jianchen struggled to imagine just how powerful the emperor armaments really were. His own emperor armament immediately paled in comparison. They were both emperor armaments, but the disparity in power was just too vast. These emperor armaments are the treasure of the protector clans. They are the trump cards of the protector clans, as well as our ability to deal with saint emperors. It is also what protects us. Changyang Zhu Yinshao sighed emotionally. I wonder if the origin energy armor on Rui Jin and Hey you can withstand the emperor armaments if the protector clans use it despite the consequences. Jianchen wondered inside. He had no idea, but he made up his mind at that moment. He would never, ever agitate the emperor armaments of the protector clans unless he had no other choice. Jianchen felt a lot of fear for the emperor armaments of the protector clans. Before them, even divine halls could be cleaved into two. Only saint emperors could withstand the power. Jianchen left the forbidden grounds with Changyang Zhu Yinshao, returning to the divine hall once more. Huang Wan remained in the room with Changyang Qingyin. No one knew whether the secret technique in her could be removed. Jianchen entered the library all by himself and made his way through the section where the cultivation methods and saint tier battle skills were stored. He was heading to where the ancient records were kept. Chapter 1086. Ancient records. There were many ancient records, all stored neatly on the bookshelves. Each book was made from high-class beast leather, as the power of the divine hall circulated within. It provided 2 layers of protection for the books, so they could last for a very long time. Even though that was the case, many books still possessed some wear. Even though they were made from high-class beast leather and were protected by the divine hall's power, they had begun to yellow, like an old man approaching his end. Everything major that had happened since ancient times had been recorded, along with some unprecedented occurrences and extremely famous figures. This included records regarding the greatest human expert, Mo Tianyan, the winged tiger god of the beast god continent, the war god Ergens of the 100 races, and the sea goddess. Jianchen had always been extremely curious regarding the matters that had occurred between the 4 of them. So he began to flip through their information first. He looked up Mo Tianyan first. He wanted to learn about Mo Tianyan's growth. He must have had a glorious record of battles as an unparalleled legend. However, Jianchen suddenly discovered that there were no such records after flipping through them. Mo Tianyan's name rocked through the world when the 100 races invaded, since he had fended them off. However, before the invasion, Jianchen actually found no information regarding him at all, as if he had truly emerged from a fairy tale. Also, as soon as he had appeared, his strength was unparalleled. No one was his opponent, and he was invincible. He blocked the experts of the 100 races that had forced the humans to retreat all by himself, killing many of members of the 100 races before going to outer space and guarding the Tianyuan continent as a form of deterrence. Afterward, the war god of the 100 races, Ergens, stepped into outer space with his golden battle axe. His battle intent flooded the world, causing the sky to shatter. He was embroiled in a grand battle with Motianyin. During that battle, both the heaven and earth cracked. The entire continent shook and lost a tenth of its area, transforming into the sea. In the end, Ergens retreated in defeat. During that age, the world was chaotic. Saint emperors emerged one after another, while the humans, magical beasts, and members of the 100 races warred constantly. There were countless casualties. The 100 races originally inhabited the beast god continent, before they were chased out by the winged tiger god and the experts of the magical beasts. That was how the ancient war began. The 100 races first retaliated against the magical beasts, and after no success, they turned to the humans. They wanted to occupy the Tianyuan continent, but they were all stopped by Motianyin. Ergens clashed with Motianyin many times, and the last time they fought was at the center of the continent. It was the most intense battle. Motianyin displayed his vast abilities, while Ergens used his great mysteries of war. The pressure was so great that even Saint Emperors could not withstand it, forcing them to retreat over 10,000 kilometers away. However, the battle ended extremely quickly as well. The moment it began, Ergens tried to retreat in defeat once more. He suffered unprecedented injuries, never daring to step upon the Tianyuan continent again. A bottomless pit had formed below their battleground, and Motianyin used his abilities to move the earth, filling it in. He founded Mercenary City there. Jianshan gasped inside as he read up to that point. The moment Motianyin injured the war god, he had suffered unprecedented injuries. Just how great was he? Jianshan even seemed to be able to imagine Motianyin standing in a heroic posture, as his white robes ruffled in the wind. The bottomless pit definitely is the tunnel to the world of forsaken saints, Jianshan murmured as he held onto the book. He continued to browse through it. After retreating from the battle with Motianyin, the 100 races did not give up. The war god then led his clansmen to attack the magical beasts again, leading to great casualties on both sides. After several battles, the war god was slain by the winged tiger god in the end. Golden blood splattered across the earth. From then on, the 4 supreme experts of the ancient times turned into 3. It was rumored that the war god's body would not rot even though he had died. It would exist forever. So the experts of the 100 races retrieved it along with the war god's blood. They wanted to use an absolute technique to revive him. But in the end, the winged tiger god descended and took away the war god's corpse, interfering with their plan of revival. He used his great abilities to seal the war god's corpse into a bleak continent, and the war between the 3 races ended there. Motianyin became the city lord of Mercenary City, and faded from the center of attention over the next few decades. Afterward he vanished, only leaving behind one message. He had already secretly struck an agreement with the winged tiger god. The Tianyuan continent and the beast god continent would never go to war against each other. Obviously, the ancient winged tiger god became the god among magical beasts, leading the entire race. 100 years later, a phenomenon occurred on Dragon Island, and the winged tiger god also disappeared with the Divine Phoenix clan and Dragon clan. No one knew where they vanished to, forming an unsolvable mystery. Jianshan did not find any information regarding the winged tiger god's life in ancient times. It seemed to have appeared out of nowhere, possessing supreme strength as soon as it had appeared. It was unlike the white tiger, who was known throughout the world before it had even matured. At that time, the war between the 3 races had yet to erupt. The magical beasts inhabited the same continent as the humans. The current Cross Mountains was the location where the magical beasts lived. As soon as the winged tiger god appeared, it led the magical beasts out of Cross Mountains to the beast god continent, where they drove the 100 races away. This led to the war between the 3 races. Afterward, Jianshan checked on the records regarding the war god Ergens. They said that he was born into an ordinary farmer's family, and golden blood was discovered as soon as he was born. He also possessed great strength, virtually the same as Taita in his youth. Soon after, all the hall elders of the 100 races gathered. They invited the young Ergens to the great war god hall excitedly and courteously. After that there was no sound of him. This lasted for 500 years. Then Ergens emerged from the war god hall. At that time, he had already surpassed Saint Emperor. He grew at a stunning rate where his name rang through the world. As soon as he emerged, he became the leader of the war god hall. Afterward, Jianchen checked up on the sea goddess. Perhaps due to the fact that the sea race was the only race that did not take part in the war. There was even less information regarding her. Just a few lines. Jianchen then found a record regarding the beast god hall. It mentioned that on the 99th floor of the hall was the first winged tiger god's legacy. Only magical beasts with the bloodline of the winged tiger god could enter and obtain it, though no one knew whether it was actually true or not. Very soon, Jianchen found another ancient record regarding the Arctic ice goddess hall. It reported the organization as mysterious and powerful, and that it had always remained in the Arctic. The ice goddess hall had existed for an extremely long time. The first Saint Emperor of the clan had once written that in ancient times, before the 10 protector clans had existed, before the war between the 3 races had erupted, the ice goddess hall had quietly stood in the Arctic for countless years. In the eyes of the ancient protector clans, the Arctic ice goddess hall was a powerful and mysterious force. They never moved on the Tianyuan continent, nor did they interfere with any conflict on the continent. Even when intense battles erupted during the War of the 3 Races, the Ice Goddess Hall continued to act as it wished, remaining in the Arctic. If the Ice Goddess Hall was weak, then so be it. However, Jianchen had also found the messages from many previous Saint Emperors to never provoke the Ice Goddess Hall. Jianchen sat on the ground as he slowly flipped through the ancient record regarding the Ice Goddess Hall. He reached the end very quickly, which suddenly made him narrow his mind. He discovered at the end of all that was a newly scribed paragraph. The Arctic Ice Goddess Hall descended on Lore City on the XXX of XXX, year XXX. Snow filled the skies. Summer turned to winter and ice sealed up a radius of 10,000 kilometers. The information near the end included records of the Holy Maiden of the Ice Goddess Hall, Changyang Mingyue. It included when she was born, what she went through as she grew up, and so on. Jianchen slowly closed the book, as he constantly thought about the Ice Goddess Hall. It was just a pity that the records did not contain many details about the origins of the Ice Goddess Hall, shrouding it in mystery. Just what kind of an organization are you? Jianchen was filled with suspicion inside. He knew from the records that for all the years the Ice Goddess Hall had existed, it had only descended once, and it was for his sister, Changyang Mingyue. Since both Mo Tianyan and the winged tiger god of the ancient times were born on the Tianyuan continent, why is there no record of you two growing up at all? Has it all been forcefully erased? Jianchen pondered. Out of the 4 supreme experts of the ancient times, the war god died in battle. The sea goddess passed away due to age, and now exists in the form of a soul because of the winged tiger god's kindness. Yet the winged tiger god who is powerful enough to help the sea goddess has disappeared with the dragon and phoenix clans. And the winged tiger god disappeared at a similar time to Senior Mo Tianyan. Did the 2 of you disappear at the same time? Did you 2 really die? Or did you go to another place as described by Shaoling? Mysteries blossomed in Jianchen's head at that moment. Dragon Island was occupied by magical beasts. It was the territory of the winged tiger god. In ancient times, the Inyang Saint Rock fell on Dragon Island, and then it was moved through the void to a distant region of space by Mo Tianyan and his powerful formations. Afterward, Dragon Island underwent a great change, while the winged tiger god, the dragon clan, the phoenix clan, and Mo Tianyan vanished without any news, causing many people to believe that they all died. In that world created by the Inyang Saint Rock, the sliver of consciousness left behind by Mo Tianyan recognized the sword spirits. Therefore, it's extremely likely that Senior Mo Tianyan came from the same world as the sword spirits. Jianchen deduced inside. Afterward, his eyes widened, and an audacious possibility crossed his mind. Maybe Mo Tianyan did not die, and the winged tiger god did not die either. They just had some unknown connection, leaving behind the sea goddess while they disappeared themselves, maybe leaving for another place as companions. Chapter 1087. comprehending the Great Divination Technique, and the 10 protector clans of the Tianyuan continent, all have an emperor armament similar to the one in the Changyang clan. They've all been passed down since the ancient times, left behind by their ancestors. Jianchen learned many secrets from the records. Afterward, Jianchen checked on some comprehensions and experiences for cultivation left behind by some seniors. He left after staying there for 2 days. Although they were invaluable, equivalent to someone's legacy, they were mostly of no help to him. All they provided him with was some information that he could draw on, broadening his understanding. In the end, Jianchen visited the section where the battle skills and cultivation methods were stored. He discovered several dozen heaven-tier battle skills and cultivation methods, as well as a few saint-tier cultivation methods, sealed by a force, and a few stone carvings of saint-tier battle skills. Jianchen pulled out a brush and ink from his space ring, and copied down a few heaven-tier battle skills and cultivation methods, before leaving the library. Although they were useless to him, they were invaluable to the Changyang clan in Lore City, and the Flame Mercenaries. Jianchen did not bother with the saint-tier cultivation techniques. They were sealed up by an ancient secret technique, and could only be unlocked with a corresponding method. He could not read them at all. On the other hand, the saint-tier battle skills were carved into stone tablets and required comprehension. Unless he could take the tablets away, there was no method of transcribing their content. The section containing the ancient secret techniques was enveloped by a layer of the Divine Hall's powerful energy. It had basically become an independent world, so Jianchen could not enter even though he was interested. Jianchen returned to the discussion hall of the Divine Hall after emerging from the library. He then proceeded to Changyang Zhu Yinshao to hear about Huang Wan. My great-grandson, Qing Yun, has yet to come out. He probably hasn't removed the ancient secret technique completely. After all, any secret technique that affects the soul is relatively difficult to deal with. Any carelessness can lead to severe consequences. Just wait for a few more days. You cannot hurry this, sighed Changyang Zhu Yinshao. Helpless, Jianchen could only remain in the protector clan. During that time, he paced about outside the room, but he could not check on the situation inside at all. His presence still could not pass through the walls of the Divine Hall. Jianchen found an empty room, and planned to go into seclusion for a few days due to boredom. In a room with only a ray of light, Jianchen sat on the ground. With the flip of his hand, he pulled out the Octotera Divine Hall from his space ring. Divine halls could only be created by saint emperors, and they would fuse in their comprehension of space. This was why divine halls could shrink and expand. It currently stood in Jianchen's hand as the size of a fist. The divine hall's been reduced to ruins by Kaiser of the Beast God continent. Its power is still circulating inside, currently recovering automatically, but it'll probably take a very long time at this rate. Jianchen stared at the ruined divine hall as he felt pity inside. 2 jade-white, glistening skeletons of saint emperors sat in the divine hall. They were left behind by the second and third masters of the Octotera Divine Hall. Each skeleton had extremely pure energy, and Jianchen could even vaguely feel a vast and profound presence in each skeleton. They were the mysteries of the world, having fused perfectly with the pure energy within. Jianchen understood that absorbing the energy within the skeletons would also lead to the comprehension of the mysteries of the world that was in the energy. However, the comprehension would depend on luck and ability. These 2 skeletons are treasures that cannot be purchased with money, especially on this continent. If a Saint Emperor's skeleton appeared, probably even the protector clans wouldn't be able to sit still. They'll definitely go and try take it for themselves, murmured Jianchen. He knew the value of the skeletons extremely well. The energy required for the 4th layer of the chaotic body is much more than the 3rd. Even if I absorb both skeletons, it won't be enough for me to reach the 4th layer. At the same time, I cannot reach Saint King with my comprehension, so the mysteries of the world would be wasted for nothing. If I give it to Ming Dong or great-grandfather Bai Hai, their strength will definitely skyrocket and reach Saint King in the shortest time possible. That's the best way to use the Saint Emperor skeletons. Jianchen put the divine hall away. He did not plan on using the skeletons for himself. Jianchen then pulled out an ancient book from his space ring. It was the great divination technique he had obtained from old man Situ all those years ago. The great divination technique was known as a book of a way to the sword spirits. It belonged to the way of divination. It was an extremely special and obscure way that was very difficult to comprehend, and incredibly few people would comprehend it. However, its wonder and uniqueness was beyond imagination. It could predict the future, show the truths of the world, perceive the mysteries of the universe, and exhibit the origin of everything. Jianchen opened the book and began reading it diligently. He was very interested in this book of a way that could forecast the future. The method to practice the great divination technique was not recorded in words. Instead, it was constructed from a few simple-looking but profound lines and images. The lines and images seemed to fuse with the world and the ways. Although they were simple, they gave people a feeling of possessing everything. The shape and trajectory of every line and image seemed to demonstrate the beginning of the universe. Jianchen became deeply drawn and very soon submerged in the mysteries of the great divination technique. At that moment, Jianchen seemed to see a limitless universe, and he also seemed to see a world of chaos. He seemed to see the birth of the universe as well, and in a daze he seemed to understand something, yet he understood nothing. It was intangible, where he could not grasp it even when he tried. The great divine technique was extremely profound. With just a few lines, it drew Jianchen's conscience to a different world. In the blink of an eye, half a month passed. Jianchen remained in the room, comprehending the great divination technique. He was deeply submerged into it, where he did not stir even once. During this period of time, Changyang Zhu Yunxiao and Changyang Zhu Xiao visited him many times. Seeing how he was cultivating, they did not disturb him and silently left. In another room of the divine hall, the ruddy, sage-like Changyang Qingyun sat with Huang Yuan. Both of them had their eyes closed and were completely serious. Changyang Qingyun's finger remained planted between Huang Yuan's eyebrows. Powerful pulses of energy were emitted from the tip of the finger, as the profound presence of the mysteries of the world, and a desolate, mysterious presence surged into Huang Yuan's forehead. Suddenly, Changyang Qingyun snapped open his eyes. An odd gleam appeared in his eyes as they were widely opened. They seemed fierce. Break! Changyang Qingyun bellowed, and used an ancient secret technique, with his strength at the great perfection of Saint King. The two presences stabbed into the center of Huang Yuan's eyebrows like a sword, forcing out the seal on Huang Yuan's soul. Afterward, the mysterious, desolate presence immediately surrounded it. Using the void soul transcendence, it burned the seal planted on Huang Yuan's soul into nothingness. Now that the seal on Huang Yuan was removed, Changyang Qingyun could not help but deeply exhale. He softly sighed. I finally removed that seal after so much effort. But soon after speaking, a sinister smile appeared on his face. He seemed to be fiendish, conflicting with his sagely appearance. I can't just help you remove this ancient secret technique for nothing. There has to be something in it for me as well. Changyang Qingyun bit the tip of his tongue and drew out a droplet of essence blood. Forming a seal with his hands, he used an ancient secret technique to refine the blood, which then entered between Huang Yuan's eyebrows in the form of a wisp. It fused with her soul, becoming a part of her soul. Huang Yuan felt nothing with her eyes closed. She had fallen unconscious long ago, losing all sense of the outside world. After all that, Changyang Qingyun smiled when he succeeded. However, he returned to how he acted before very quickly. He gently extended a finger to Huang Yuan's forehead again and woke her up. Huang Yuan slowly opened her eyes. She looked at Changyang Qingyun in confusion first, but a gleam of light flashed through her eyes soon after. She politely asked, Senior, may I ask if the ancient secret technique has been removed? Changyang Qingyun smiled amicably. His smile was filled with benevolence as he slowly said, It's been removed successfully. Girl, you don't need to worry about it anymore. Thank you, Senior. Huang Yuan rejoiced, and immediately thanked Changyang Qingyun after standing up. Jianchen quickly learned about how Huang Yuan's seal was removed. He immediately stopped his comprehension of the great divination technique to meet up with her. The great divination technique really was profound. Even though Jian Shen had entered such a wondrous state, he had still failed to comprehend the technique. However, he did seem to vaguely understand some of the laws within the technique. Huang Wan sweetly smiled to Jian Shen in the hall. Jian Shen, the ancient secret technique planted on my soul has finally been removed. Rejoicing, Jian Shen wholeheartedly thanked Changyang Qingyin. After talking a little more, he bid farewell to everyone. He wanted to leave the Protector clan. Xiangtian, you're leaving so soon. Why don't you stay for a few more days? Changyang Qingyin urged. I still have matters to attend to, so I don't have much time on hand, said Jian Shen. Go deal with your important matters first, since you need to attend to them. Though do come back and visit the clan whenever you have time. Changyang Zhu Yunxiao and Changyang Zhu Xiao walked in from outside. They spoke for Jian Shen. Changyang Qingyin became hesitant. He said in the end, Xiangtian, since you have matters at hand, you should go. Though, we do hope you can leave the winged tiger god with the clan. We will use everything we have to raise it, and provide it with an even greater space to grow in. Jian Shen's expression changed slightly. He did not think that the Changyang clan would still be thinking of the winged tiger god, and that they would try to take it right now. I thank you on Xiaobai's behalf, Elder Qingyin. However, Xiaobai doesn't need any assistance in any aspects right now. Jian Shen declined without any hesitation. The Changyang clan had existed for over 1,000,000 years. They possessed countless ancient secret techniques, so he worried that they would use one of them to control Xiao, by if he left the white tiger here, or do detrimental things to the white tiger. Chapter 1088, Guihai Dao 1. Xiangtian, you're now a great elder of our clan. You must consider the clan in anything and everything you do. I hope you can consider the future of the clan. If the winged tiger god is raised as the guardian beast of our clan, our strength will instantaneously surpass the 9 other clans. Of course, if you let the winged tiger god successfully mature under the 2 great magical beast experts, there's a great possibility that it will bring disaster to the continent. Do you really want to be condemned by the entire continent for all of eternity? Changyang Qingyin sternly argued. Elder Qingyin, I am very grateful that you removed the seal within Luaner, but there is no room for discussion in regards to the winged tiger god, Jian Shen flatly replied. The clan takes priority over everything, Changyang Xiangtian. If you're unwilling to leave behind the winged tiger god, we won't make it difficult for you. However, I do hope your fiancé can move the Bright Moon Divine Hall into our clan from outer space. So many more female descendants of the clan can enter the Divine Hall to cultivate, and thus strengthen our clan. Changyang Qingjuri and Changyang Qingyinfeng walked in from outside. The speaker was Changyang Qingjuri. He still had his sights set on the Bright Moon Divine Hall. Changyang Zhu Yinxiao and Changyang Zhu Xiao looked at one another, and they frowned slightly. They became troubled. Jian Shen's face grew cold. Yuer needs to absorb moonlight force to cultivate. The Divine Hall can only gather moonlight force at a faster rate in outer space. So if it's moved into this independent space, it'll definitely affect Yuer cultivation greatly. And if you want to cultivate by absorbing moonlight force, you need to have Fairy Haoyu's cultivation method, and a special constitution. Even if you send the female clansmen into the Divine Hall, they can't absorb moonlight force. All the high-tier battle skills and cultivation methods obtained by ancestors have been stored in the library of the clan, so that our heritage deepens. Jian Shen, you're also a great elder of the clan, so can't you think of the future of the clan? Changyang Qingjuri spoke to Jian Shen with an ordinary tone. He seemed like he was discussing something simple with Jian Shen. Jian Shen sneered, and his eyes suddenly narrowed. A pressing coldness constantly flickered in his eyes as he called out, Changyang Qingjuri, are you forcing me to do that? Jian Shen referred to Changyang Qingjuri by his name. He was furious, so he showed no respect. Changyang Qingjuri stared blankly at how Jian Shen behaved, where he wanted to fight as soon as there was a disagreement. A sliver of cold light flickered in the depths of his eyes, and he said with a deep voice, Changyang Xiangtian, this is the rules of the clan. All predecessors have abided by them. Do you plan on breaking them? Jury enough. Xiangtian's only just returned to the clan. He hasn't adapted to the rules, so let's not talk about the Winged Tiger God and Bright Moon Divine Hall for now. Changyang Qingyun mediated. He knew that forcing Jian Chen to do things he did not want to do with his stubborn personality would probably lead to blunders. Changyang Qingjuri, do you really think that I Jian Chen really care about the position of a great elder? If it weren't for my great-grandfather, I definitely would not have taken up the position. I hope none of you mention requests that go overboard in the future, or don't blame me for disrespecting my elders, Jian Chen coldly said. Even though he was in a protector clan right now, he felt no fear. Wanna, let's go. Throwing that down, Jian Chen strode toward the exit of the clan with Huang Wan. He paid no attention to Changyang Qingyun and the others who had already paled. Everyone, let's not go overboard with Xiangtian. He's no ordinary clansman. We got him to join the protector clan after much difficulty. So if we end up chasing him away, only we will be in for the loss, Changyang Zuyinshao grumbled. He seemed extremely displeased. Think about the matters with Flame City. Back then, when the 10 protector clans appeared at the same time to stop Jian Chen, everyone still ended up helpless in the end, added Changyang Zushao. Before leaving with Changyang Zuyinshao, Jian Chen and Huang Wan left the protector clan accompanied by Changyang Zuyinshao and Changyang Zushao. As they traveled to the exit, the two great elders constantly comforted Jian Chen and also put in good words about the protector clan. My great-grandson, don't let Elder Qin Yin and Juri get to your mind. The clan's rules are indeed like that, so they're just considering the clan's future, Changyang Zuyinshao explained. Jian Chen did not want to dwell on the matter anymore, so he said to Changyang Zuyinshao, I want to know about the strength and location of the Yama Hall. The Yama Hall? Changyang Zuyinshao slightly frowned. After a while of thought, he said, that's an organization that has existed on the continent for over 100,000 years. Their strength is quite impressive, much stronger than ordinary ancient clans. The leader of the organization was a Saint King at the 8th heavenly layer 1,000 years ago, but he was heavily injured by the sect master of the Bloodsword sect, Houston. He was at death's door. But now that a whole millennium has passed, I wonder if the former Yama has recovered. Other than the former Yama, who is the most powerful, there are two other Saint Kings. One of them is the current Yama, while the other is the spectral elder. Their strengths are unknown, and the organization is set up in a divine hall. It often moves around, so even if you use everything you have to look for them, it's extremely difficult to find where they are in a short amount of time. Jian Chen learned some information regarding the assassination organization from Changyang Zuyinshao before bidding farewell to them. He directly proceeded to the Sea Realm through a space gate constructed by Changyang Zuyinshao. Jian Chen and Huang Wan appeared above a boundless ocean, heading to where the sea race was after determining their orientation. Suddenly, the sunny sky darkened in an instant. A thick layer of clouds gathered at a shocking rate, blotting out the sky. The clouds radiated with light of 7 colors. Someone's reaching Saint King. Both Jian Chen and Huang Wan became stunned. Jian Chen stared at the rainbow clouds in the sky as he murmured, from today on, there would be one more Saint King. On a desolate little island several tens of thousand kilometers away from Jian Chen, a bare-chested, middle-aged man in shorts sat on the ground. The profound presence of the mysteries of the world constantly radiated from him, as the surrounding space violently shook so much that it was warping. It blurred the man's figure. In the independent space inhabited by the Tyrant's Blade School, 100-meter tall, glistening machete stood in a valley protected by multiple powerful formations. It possessed a devastating might as it radiated with a bright glow. Suddenly, the machete began to tremble slightly even though it had stood there without moving for a very long time. Something seemed to have awakened within the blade, causing it to radiate with a vast pressure. It constantly increased, reaching an unbelievable level in the blink of an eye. An extremely powerful energy fluctuated within the machete. It usually never stirred, yet it began to flow slowly at this moment. Bang! 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 The powerful formations in the surroundings that trapped the machete all exploded. The clear resonance of the blade rang through the entire space, and then the machete turned into a silver blob. It ripped through space and vanished from the independent world. Shit! The Emperor armaments run away. A panic-stricken and terrified cry suddenly rang out at almost the same time the machete had disappeared. 6 people of varying ages fused with the surrounding space, arriving where the machete was in a single step. All 6 of them were great elders of the Tyrant's Blade School. Fear and disbelief had flooded all of their faces right now. What's happened? It was all fine. So how could the Emperor armament run off without any reason? This has never appeared in the records. So in other words, this is the first time something like this has happened in all of history. The Emperor armament is the treasure of our Tyrant's Blade School. We can't afford to lose it. We need to get it back. The Emperor armament ties into the heritage of the Tyrant's Blade School. No matter how great the price is, we have to get it back. The great elders all became extremely stern as they panicked inside. They immediately opened the world gate to the outside world, and used a secret technique to sense where the Emperor armament was. They chased after it. In the vast ocean, the 7-colored rainbow clouds flooded the sky. The burly, middle-aged man remained with his eyes closed as he sat on the desolate island. At this moment, an extremely terrifying energy appeared boldly from the horizon. A streak of dazzling white light cut through the sky, traveling straight for the middle-aged man with unbelievable speed. Jianchen sensed the extremely powerful energy ripple immediately from several tens of thousand kilometers away. He immediately became astounded and hoarsely said, "An Emperor armament. This is the presence of an Emperor armament. What terrifying pulses of energy. It gives me the feeling that I'm faced up against a Saint Emperor. It's a mere weapon, yet it possesses such terrifying might. Is it an Emperor armament of a protector clan?" Jianchen hesitated for a moment before hurrying over quickly with Huang Wan. The blinding white light descended onto the island, stopping above the middle-aged man's head. It transformed into a 1.5-meter-long machete. The blade hovered gently as it enveloped the man with a dazzling glow. The man seemed to sense nothing as he remained seated there. The space near the island ripped open and formed a 5-colored space gate. The great elders of the Tyrant's Blade School charged out from inside, arriving on the island. As they ran through the air, they surrounded the middle-aged man, who was in the middle of his breakthrough. They were all filled with shock. Chapter 1089. Guihai Dao 2. This is the Emperor armament that has existed in our Tyrant's Blade School for more than 1,000,000 years. Can anyone give me an explanation on what is happening? A great elder said in shock as disbelief filled his face. Who is this person? Why is the Emperor armament of our school so close with him? This has never happened before. Has the Emperor armament come out just for this person? The great elders of the Tyrant's Blade School were all frightened. The Emperor armament was just too important to the Protector clan. They could not afford to lose it. They all felt very uneasy when they saw how the Emperor armament was floating so close to an outsider. The Emperor armament was left behind by our founding ancestor. No one has been able to control it in all these years. Yet the Emperor armament's behaving in such a strange way now. Has it been controlled by an outsider? The Emperor armament cannot fall into the hands of outsiders. If it really reaches that point, we'll kill this person, an older great elder sternly said. His voice was filled with killing intent. Let me retrieve the Emperor armament. One of the middle-aged men took a step forward. His hand was protected by a thick layer of Saint Force and World Force as he grabbed at the hilt. However, as soon as his hand approached the glow of the Emperor armament, blood was thrown into the air. His hand was reduced to a bloody mess. If he had not pulled it back so quickly, his hand would probably have been destroyed. Impossible. I've actually been injured by the Emperor armament, and this isn't because of the backlash from the Emperor armament. The man stared at his bloody hand. He felt astounded. The other great elders of the Tyrant's Blade School were all shocked as well. They struggled to believe what had just happened. When they touched the Emperor armament before, they would only suffer a backlash from the great power of the Emperor armament. This was the first time an injury from the Emperor armament had occurred. The great elders did not understand what was happening to the Emperor armament, but they could not approach it. As a result, all they could do was stand there and slowly wait. Jianchen and Huang Wuan approached the island very quickly. They saw what was happening there clearly. Jianchen recognized the weapon as an emperor armament of a protector clan. So he secretly raised his guard. Jianchen, do you know what they're doing? Huang Wuan leaned on Jianchen as she asked a question out of curiosity, while pointing her finger at the island. Jianchen shook his head as he stared attentively at the emperor armament and the man who had suffered earlier. He too felt extremely curious. The great elders discovered Jianchen as he approached them and recognized him with a single glance. A sliver of fear appeared in their eyes as they looked around cautiously before relaxing a little. Jianchen, the Tyrant's Blade School has matters here. I hope you do not approach us just in case it leads to a misunderstanding. An elderly man clasped his hands at Jianchen from afar. Jianchen and Huang Wuan did not get any closer, watching on from afar in amusement. So it's the Emperor Armament of the Tyrant's Blade School. By the looks of it, the Emperor Armament seems to have lost control and has come here by itself. Though who is that person, and why has the Emperor Armament suddenly seeked him out? Jianchen deduced inside. The great elders all formed a circle around the middle-aged man, who was breaking through to prevent him from suddenly fleeing after rousing from the breakthrough. The Emperor Armament levitated above the burly man, as a layer of blinding white light enveloped the man from above. This was an extremely powerful type of light, able to easily injure Saint Kings. Clearly, it was protecting the middle-aged man who was in the middle of his breakthrough. This lasted for 6 whole hours before the man completed his breakthrough. He slowly opened his eyes. In that instant, 2 bolts of lightning seemed to shoot out of his eyes. His eyes became abnormally bright, like 2 bright pearls in the dark night. All the great elders of the Tyrant's Blade School shuddered inside under the gaze of the man. At that moment, they discovered in shock that they seemed to have been seen through by the middle-aged man, as if nothing was a secret to him. The great elders all became extremely astounded. They were all people who had stepped into Saint King for many years, yet they had just been seen through by someone who had just reached Saint King. They found this unbelievable. The heavy gaze of the middle-aged man vanished very quickly and returned back to normal. His pitch-black and profound eyes seemed to contain a whole different world, as if it was a vast and boundless universe. The man slowly raised his head toward the sky and faintly smiled. He produced a deep sigh. Tian Yuan Continent I, Gui Hai Dao have finally returned. I never thought that the energy of the world would have become so thin after being gone for so long. The man was melancholy. He gently waved an arm, and the Emperor Armament floating above him immediately and obediently flew into his hand. The glow of the blade actually failed to harm the man. I have already returned successfully. I wonder if you guys have returned. Reminiscence flooded his eyes as he stared at the sky. The great elders all witnessed what the Emperor Armament did. They felt utterly dumbfounded. The Emperor Armament had existed for so many years in the Tyrant's Blade School. Yet there was no one in all of history who could wield it in such an easy fashion. Sir, who are you? In your hand is the Emperor Armament of the Tyrant's Blade School. Please return it immediately, just in case it leads to a misunderstanding, the elderly great elder said. The man leveled his gaze at the great elders around him. He said, "Are you disciples of the Tyrant's Blade School? I never thought the Tyrant's Blade School would become weaker and weaker." What did you say? The great elders' expressions all drastically changed. Their eyes narrowed, and they seemed to be ready to fight over the next disagreement. As one of the 10 protector clans of the continent, the Tyrant's Blade School was an overlord without a doubt. No one had ever dared to speak to them like that. The man smiled scornfully. "My name is Gui Hai Dao. I wonder if there's still anyone who remembers me after so many years." As he said that, he gently swung the Emperor Armament and cut through the space like a hot knife through butter. A space gate formed, and he directly left through it. However, the landscape beyond the space gate seemed the same as the space where the Tyrant's Blade School dwelt. The great elders all stood there astounded. Disbelief flooded their faces as their hearts churned. They struggled to calm down. "Gui Hai Dao, Gui Hai Dao. Is he?" One of the great elders said with a trembling voice as shock filled his face. "Impossible, it can't be him." The great elders all involuntarily cried out. None of them were able to remain calm. "He can actually return to our independent space without going through the world gate. Let's return quickly," the elderly great elder hurriedly said as he watched the man disappear. Afterward, the great elders all split open the space and left, returning to the protector clan as fast as they could. From afar, Jianshan stared deeply in the direction where the great elders had disappeared. A gleam of light flashed through his eyes as he began to ponder. He felt extremely curious about the middle-aged man's identity. "Guihai Dao. That person's called Guihai Dao. Who is he?" Jianshan gently murmured. However, before he could obtain an answer, he left with Huang Wan, continuing his way to the territory of the sea race. Soon Jianshan arrived in the air above the sea realm with Huang Wan. The sea goddess illusionary figure appeared almost the moment he arrived. "Your Majesty, Waner possesses the water spirit's body. I want to leave her in the sea realm to cultivation." Jianshan clasped his hands to the sea goddess in an extremely courteous manner. The sea goddess slowly nodded. She turned her blurry face to Huang Wan. "Jianshan, the secret technique that entwines your friend's fate with someone else has been removed, but another secret technique has been planted in her by someone else." "What? Another person's planted a new secret technique in Huang Wan's soul?" Jianshan paled in fright. He seemed to have been struck by a bolt from the blue. Huang Wan's face also began to sink. A sliver of paleness appeared on her face as she tightly clenched her fists. She remained silent. "Correct, and this secret technique has been recently planted. It has completely fused with her soul, so it hides extremely deep. If it weren't for my powerful soul, probably no one would have realized it," said the sea goddess. Jianshan's face began to darken. He gnashed his teeth. "Changyang Qingyan. It must be Changyang Qingyan, that old fox." Jianshan's face was cold as killing intent flooded him inside. "Jianshan, I can sense that this secret technique cannot pose any harm to your friend for now. Leave your friend in the sea goddess hall. I'll get the hall master to think of a method and see if she can remove the seal or not. However, the secret techniques of the protector clans are extremely profound, and those that target the soul are especially complicated. Even I am helpless before them," said the sea goddess. Jianshan clasped his hands in gratitude before leaving Huang Wan there. "Jianshan, I will come and find you after I become a saint king." Huang Wan cried out as she tearfully stared at Jianshan's back. She knew that there she wouldn't see Jianshan for a very long time. In the Tyrant's Blade School, the Emperor armament had been returned to the Forbidden Grounds. It was stabbed into the ground in a 100-meter-long form, as it radiated with powerful blade qi. The bare-chested Guihai Dao sat on the giant hilt with his eyes closed. The great elders returned from outside, and excitedly stared at Guihai Dao with a group of saint rulers. "Are you really the founder of our Tyrant's Blade sect?" the elderly great elder asked with a trembling voice. His eyes were filled with hope. "So many years have passed. I didn't think you bunch of juniors would still remember me. Looks like I didn't found this school for nothing," Guihai Dao said with his eyes closed. His voice was extremely indifferent, giving off an unfathomable feeling. The group of expects immediately rejoiced when they confirmed Guihai Dao's identity. However, all of them were filled with endless suspicion at the same time. "Founder, it's been over 1,000,000 years since that age. How is it possible for you to still be alive?" a great elder asked. "When I reached the end of my life, I used an absolute secret technique to seal my memories into the wave-breaking blade, and threw my soul into samsara at the same time. Once the circumstances are right, my memories sealed in the wave-breaking blade will sense it, and control the weapon to come find me. The weapon will return my memories, allowing me to remember my past life. I have only just recovered my memories right now," Guihai Dao explained. Chapter 1090. Devastating the Yama Hall. 1. All the experts of the Tyrant's Blade School became utterly astounded when they heard this story that was sounded like a fairy tale. Their horizons had been broadened. The founder really is remarkable to know such a heaven-defying technique. All the experts began to curry up to him. All of them felt extremely emotional. Their founder had actually revived, and could masterfully wield the Emperor armament. This was a blessing for the Protector clan. Many of them could even see a future where the Tyrant's Blade School would surpass the 9 other protector clans. My 9 other good friends chose the same method as me to be revived. Has there been any disturbances with the 9 other protector clans lately? Gui Haidao questioned. Founder, it has all been peaceful with the 9 other protector clans. It's just that an unprecedented genius has appeared in the Chongyang clan, reaching Saint King in less than 100 years. The elderly great elder politely replied. Gui Haidao snapped open his eyes as he thought inside. He really is an unprecedented genius to reach Saint King in less than 100 years. He would be a genius even in the saints' world. Though, I feel like he can't be that friend of mine. Gui Haidao sat in silence for a while before he then said, I've only just reached Saint King. All of you leave. I need to go into seclusion over the next period of time and recover my strength from before as soon as possible. Yes, Founder. All the experts of the Protector clan replied together before slowly leaving. Soon after that, the world gate of the Tyrant's Blade School closed, completely cutting off all connection from the Tianyuan continent. The revival of the founding ancestor was an extremely important matter to the Protector clan. To prevent it from being leaked, they sealed the entire realm, just in case there was anyone who wanted to harm the founding ancestor before he recovered his strength. A small valley that barely anyone knew about existed at the edge of the Cross Mountains. The entire valley was covered by a faint barrier, while simple and honest villagers lived their lives there. They farmed for their own food, passing their days steadily and away from worldly affairs. Today, a space gate suddenly appeared outside the barrier in the quiet little valley. The white-clothed Jian Chun emerged with the black-robed Heiyu before entering the valley. The barrier outside the valley was used to repel attacks from magical beasts, so the two of them easily passed through it. Longevity Valley seemed the same as before. Jian Chun made his way down the familiar path of the village. A few farmers in the fields saw Jian Chun. They greeted him enthusiastically, while Jian Chun responded with a smile and some light responses. Jian Chun found Uncle Xiaomi in the village spinning a new wicker basket. Half of Xiaomi's hair had already turned gray since the last time Jian Chun saw him. Even his eyebrows had grayed a little. Jian Chun, you finally returned. Xiaomi was not surprised at all with Jian Chun's return. He stopped what he was doing, dusted off his hands, and stood up. Uncle Xiaomi, your hair. Surprise and doubt filled Jian Chun's eyes as he stared at Xiaomi's white hair. Xiaomi freely smiled. It's nothing. I'm just approaching the end of my life, that's all. Jian Chun's heart trembled when he heard that. He said, Uncle Xiaomi, what did you say? You're approaching the end of your life? How much more time do you have? Heaven Saint Masters only have 1,000 years of life. I've lived for more than 1,000 years already. If it weren't for the 10,000-year heavenly resources from Father, I would have died long ago. I have roughly 30 or 40 years left, Xiaomi sighed. His face became filled with indescribable melancholy. Uncle Xiaomi, don't you worry. Before that time, I will do everything I can so you can reach Saint Ruler, Jian Chun sternly said. When his saint weapon had shattered back then, it was Uncle Xiaomi who had brought him to Longevity Valley, thus saving his life. He definitely could not just watch Uncle Xiaomi approach the end of his life. Xiaomi shook his head. Jian Chun, I thank you for your kindness, but don't waste your efforts. I can never become a saint ruler. Impossible. That can never be the case. I will definitely find a way, Jian Chun swore. Jian Chun, he's congenitally incomplete. He can never reach Saint Ruler. Heiyu spoke from beside Jian Chun. What? Congenitally incomplete? Jian Chun became stunned. He asked, Uncle Xiaomi, what is this about? Xiaomi gently sighed. I need to start the story with my mother. 1,000 years ago, my mother died in the battle between the Bloodsword sect, the Yamahal, and the Underworld sect. At that time, I was still a fetus and not born. Originally, I was supposed to die in my mother's belly, but I was saved by my father in the end. Although my life was left intact, I was not born normally, so I have always been congenitally incomplete. I don't have any birth defects, but my talent is horrendous, and it can't be altered even with heavenly resources. I can't reach Saint Ruler either. My father had even once said that for me to reach Heaven Saint Master had caught him by surprise. Isn't there any other way to make up for this incompletion? Jianshan asked urgently. Xiaomi shook his head and gently smiled. Actually, everyone will face death. Even great saint emperors only have a lifespan of 10,000 years. I am only leaving first, and everyone will end up like me sooner or later. I have already gotten past death. Jianshan fell silent as he struggled to accept the situation inside. Xiaomi pulled out a divine hall from his space ring and passed it to Jianshan. He said, Jianshan, my father has already gone into seclusion. Before he left, he specially made me give this divine hall to you. This divine hall is the foothold for the Bloodsword sect on the continent. It's controlled by the sect masters of every generation. And now that you've become the sect master, this divine hall should be yours. Jianshan accepted the divine hall as he stared at Xiaomi with mixed emotions. He solemnly said, Uncle Xiaomi, it doesn't matter if there's no hope. I will try to find methods to help you. Xiaomi shook his head. Jianshan, I am destined to not reach Saint Ruler, so don't waste your efforts. Now that my father doesn't have much time left either, if he departs as well, there'll only be little Fatty and his mother left. If you want to help me look after little Fatty and Shelley. Shelley used to be the young lady of a great clan. After marrying me several decades ago, she has spent her time with me in this valley that completely cuts us off from the rest of the world. It's been too hard on her. Xiaomi felt ashamed. For Xiaomi to not feel any regrets, Jianshan swore to look after little Fatty and his mother. He then asked Xiaomi where the Yama Hall was located. Jianshan, have they offended you since you're looking for them so suddenly? Xiaomi immediately brightened up when he heard about the Yama Hall. He stared at Jianshan in interest. Correct, replied Jianshan. The location of the Yama Hall is always extremely well hidden. It changes often, so they have no fixed location. However, they can't hide it from the investigators of our Bloodsword sect, no matter how they try. The matters of the Bloodsword sect used to all be handled by me, so I just happen to know where they're located. 1,000 years ago, my mother died to the combined attacks of the experts from the Yama Hall and Underworld sect. I've never seen my mother's face. My father still holds extremely deep hatred for the two organizations, even though he stepped away from the continent over the past few years. It's just that he swore to my mother in the past, so my father's been enduring the hatred within him, and did not wipe out the two organizations. Jianshan, if it's possible, I hope you can wipe out the Yama Hall for us, and take revenge for me mother. A cold light flickered in Xiaomi's eyes. Don't worry, Uncle Xiaomi. Since you can't take revenge personally, leave it to me, Jianshan swore. After learning the location of the Yama Hall, Jianshan left Longevity Valley with Heiyu. However, Jianshan remained heavy-hearted due to Uncle Xiaomi reaching the end of his life. If he had not brought Jianshan into Longevity Valley back then, Jianshan probably would have been reduced to a cold corpse long ago. It would have been impossible for him to still be alive and attain such great accomplishments. Although he did not care about his own death at all, Jianshan did not want to watch him just die from old age. Senior Heiyu, is there really no method for Uncle Xiaomi to reach Saint Ruler? Jianshan asked Heiyu. Heiyu shook his head. He's congenitally deficient in his soul, so he can't comprehend the mysteries of the world. Naturally, he can't reach Saint Ruler either. Honestly, it's already extremely surprising that he could reach Heaven Saint Master with his current circumstances. Jianshan's mood grew even heavier, and he said nothing more. Jianshan summoned Ruijin, Honglian, and the White Tiger from the artifact space, before passing through a space gate to Flame City. He called all the Saint Rulers that had joined the Flame Mercenaries, only leaving behind Jetatai to watch over the city. Jianshan left with Ruijin, the 5 Saint Rulers, and the others through another space gate that took them to where the Yama Hall was located. The assassins of Yama Hall had once made an attempt on Jianshan's life. They were also the murderers of Uncle Xiaomi's mother, people who owed a blood debt to Uncle Xiao's family. As a result, Jianshan needed to wipe out the Yama Hall, whether it was for his own revenge or for Uncle Xiao's revenge. However, if he did it under the name of the Flame Mercenaries, it would make them even more famous. Jian Chen's group of 9, along with the winged tiger god, arrived through a space gate. They traveled threateningly toward the Yama Hall. And just as they arrived, the news that the Flame Mercenaries wanted to deal with the Yama Hall of the 3 great assassination organizations quickly spread through the Flame Mercenaries. The news immediately caused a very large disturbance in Flame City, before spreading like wildfire. Every single person who heard the news became astounded. Chapter 1091, Devastating the Yama Hall 2. The Flame Mercenaries want to take on the Yama Hall. It'll be troublesome for the Yama Hall now. Not necessarily. The Flame Mercenaries may be very strong, but they have only developed in the past few decades after all. On the other hand, the Yama Hall has stood on the Tianyuan continent for over 100,000 years. Their heritage is very great. So if the Flame Mercenaries want to wipe them out, it won't be easy. The Flame Mercenaries already have the capability to take on the Yama Hall. Both of them will suffer great casualties from this battle. The Flame Mercenaries has already reached into the millions. I wonder how many people they are going to mobilize. The matter about the Flame Mercenaries clashing with the Yama Hall became the center of attention for many people. Many of them discussed the news. In a desolate region of the Tianyuan continent, a pitch-black palace stood quietly in a group of mountains. The palace was covered by boulders, so even if someone flew over from above, they would struggle to notice its existence. It was extremely well hidden. The black-clothed Baidao sat in a room within the palace. He was pale white while an odd gleam of light flickered in his eyes, like 2 dancing will-o-wisps. Walls of flames connecting the floor to the ceiling of the room surrounded Baidao, trapping him there. Although the flames lacked any heat, they possessed a stunning force. Not only could they scorch the air, they could even melt space, causing the space around the flames to distort and warp. Brat, you've really brought disaster to me. You've actually entered the divine hall of the Yama Hall. Now we're both trapped here, Venerable Poison's Word said with a sunken face. His resentment for Baidao had already become bone deep. Over the past few days of being trapped here, Venerable Poison's Word had tried many times to charge out, but every attempt was obstructed by the black flames. The flames were called demonic hellfire, and they were extremely harmful to the soul. They restrained Venerable Poison's Word, who was just a soul. I didn't think that they'd be people of the Yama Hall either, let alone the fact that this would be such a powerful divine hall, Baidao said with a communication technique. His voice was extremely stern. He had miscalculated, underestimating this group of murderers. Ha ha ha. Descendant of the Bai family, have you thought it through? Are you going to hand over the beast fur or not? If you do, we might be able to give you a chance and spare your life. Otherwise, there will only be death. A husky voice rang from the darkness, as a black-cloaked man slowly appeared outside the flame. He coldly stared at Baidao. Venerable Poison Sword's flickering eyes locked onto the man. He became hesitant as he thought inside. That brat's actually gotten me trapped in this divine hall. And my soul is being injured by the demonic hellfire. I don't have much power left either, so it's impossible for me to escape. There is only death. I need to find another way to survive. He finally made up his mind after hesitating. Clenching his teeth, he said, "Call the Yama of your organization. I have something to say to him." "Have you finally made up your mind?" "I am the Yama, so go on ahead," laughed the man. "Yama? I am Venerable Poison's Word, who once freely wandered the continent. After facing the end of my life, I used a secret technique to protect my soul, and now I share the same body as this brat Baidao. If you can assist me in taking over this body, I am willing to help your Yama Hall do 3 things. Of course, I will also head over that beast fur you are talking about," said Venerable Poison Word. "Old bastard, you've betrayed me." Baidao fell into a fury as his soul immediately began to struggle. He wanted to forcefully break free of Venerable Poison Sword's restraint and regain control of his body. Venerable Poison Word? Is it that Venerable Poison's Word, who had a foot planted in Saint Emperor, and clashed against a Saint Emperor 10 times without suffering defeat? The Yama became surprised, and his eyes immediately lit up. "Correct, that's me." Venerable Poison's Word raised his chest and pridefully replied. His eyes flickered violently as he did everything he could to restrain Bai Dao. The Yama stared at Venerable Poison's word for a while before coldly laughing. He said, I never thought it would actually be the infamous Venerable Poison's word. Though you should know that once you enter this divine hall, there's only death unless a Saint Emperor comes personally. Right now, your life is completely in my hands. If you want it back, 3 things is far from enough. Then I will do 10 things, Venerable Poison's word said with a deep voice. No, that's still not enough. Venerable, if you want to live, there is only one way. And that is to join our Yama Hall and become a protector king, chuckled the Yama. Okay, I agree. Venerable Poison's word agreed in the end, after hesitating a little. The Yama immediately began to laugh without restraint. I welcome Venerable Poison's word for joining our Yama Hall. Before he could finish speaking, a violent boom rang from outside. The entire divine hall violently shook, and both the Yama and Venerable Poison's word stumbled, since they were completely caught off guard. They almost fell. God damn it, what's happening? The Yama's face changed, and he immediately vanished into the darkness. When he reappeared, he was on the top floor of the divine hall. Cracks had already appeared on the ceiling of the divine hall, as streaks of sunlight flooded in. They illuminated the dark interior slightly. The divine hall's been broken. The Yama immediately paled in fright as he looked at the crack. He involuntarily cried out, Has there been a Saint Emperor who has come to destroy our divine hall? Although he was shocked, he responded extremely quickly. With a flip of his hand, a few pieces of jade appeared, and he immediately crushed all of them. Figures moved about within the divine hall, and the 10 protector kings, completely shrouded in black cloaks, appeared by the Yama's side. They stared at the cracked ceiling in shock. Outside, Jian Chun, Rui Jin, He Yu, Hong Lian, the White Tiger, and the 5 saint rulers of the flame mercenaries levitated above as they stared down at the black divine hall. He Yu wielded a machete as he radiated with a chilling pressure. It was the weapon that possessed origin energy. The 5 saint rulers stood side by side behind them. They carried a huge banner, the banner of the flame mercenaries. This divine hall's rather tough. It must have been made by an extremely powerful Saint Emperor. I'd like to see how many times it can endure my attacks though, sneered He Yu. Another powerful blade chi appeared out of nowhere and struck the divine hall, causing it to tremble violently once more. It shattered quite a few rocks in the surroundings while the cracks grew larger. May I inquire which senior has come, and why you are targeting our Yama Hall? Has our Yama Hall offended you in any way? A husky voice rang out from within, but the person did not appear. The captain of the flame mercenaries, Jian Chun, has come personally. Yama Hall, why don't you hurry up and come receive him? The saint ruler carrying the banner called out. His voice was thunderous, spreading through the surroundings. So it's Captain Jian Chun. My Yama Hall has failed to welcome you from afar, so please forgive us. However, may I ask when have we offended Captain Jian Chun? The Yama's voice rang out from within. Many years ago, I was targeted by your organization in the City of God when I moved around under the name of Yang Yutian. I've come for revenge today, Jian Chun coldly answered. Captain Jian Chun, I am the current master of the Yama Hall. I did not know about this, but I will definitely investigate the matter with everything I have. If it is true, we are willing to hand over the assassin who targeted you back then. I hope Captain Jian Chun can spare the Yama Hall, the Yama submissively replied. He had heard about Jian Chun long ago, and he knew that Jian Chun was someone that even the 10 protector clans could do nothing to. It won't be that simple. Senior He Yu, please destroy this divine hall for me, Jian Chun said coldly as dense killing intent appeared in his eyes. I've never felt what it's like to destroy a divine hall, so let me try it today. He Yu became rather excited before flying up to the divine hall. His machete glowed with a dazzling light as he mercilessly chopped at the divine hall. Bang, bang, bang. Violent sounds constantly rang out. Every strike from He Yu was no weaker than a Saint King's attack. The divine hall quickly began to shatter under He Yu's constant attacks. The entire top portion of the divine hall was removed. The trembling of the divine hall had already alerted all the assassins within it. Many of them lost their usual composure and began to panic. The demonic hellfire on the first floor of the divine hall disappeared. Bai Dao's eyes flickered while Venerable Poison's word remained in control. He gazed at the shaking divine hall in shock and suspicion as he murmured, "What's happening to the Yama Hall? Why is the trembling so powerful? Has an enemy come for revenge? And are they attacking the divine hall right now?" He immediately became extremely emotional when he thought what could be happening. He seemed to see hope of escaping. Chapter 1092, Devastating the Yama Hall 3. Bai Dao, you brat! How dare you place me in jeopardy, almost dooming me eternally? Once I get out, I'll let you have it real good. Don't blame me for not showing you mercy now that you've acted so heartlessly, Venerable Poison's word viciously said. Venerable Poison's word, aren't you going to keep the promise between us? Bai Dao coldly asked. His voice was hoarse. Keep it my ass. You've made it so difficult for me. I almost died to the Yama Hall. Your bloody promise can go to hell. Venerable Poison's word was completely without fear now. After controlling Bai Dao's body for so long, his soul had grown much more accustomed to the body. He was very confident that he could suppress Bai Dao's resistance, and thus gain full control over the body. Once I get out of here, the first thing I'll do is devour your soul, and make up for the overconsumption of my soul, said Venerable Poison's word. The two of them communicated in their consciousness, so no outsider could hear them. At this moment, the divine hall swayed once more and shook violently. It almost caused Venerable Poison's word to lose his footing. The top portion of the divine hall had been completely destroyed, revealing the interior to the sunlight. Heiyu did not seem to want to chop the divine hall in half with a single stroke, so he currently shaved away at it stroke by stroke. Rui Jin and Hong Lian did nothing, standing coldly by Jian Chen's side. They stared coldly at the ruined divine hall. At this moment, Rui Jin and Hong Lian's eyes suddenly narrowed. Just as they were about to move, Jian Chen turned in an instant and drew the Emperor armament at the same time, stabbing out with unbelievable speed. With a boom, Jian Chen's Emperor armament collided with a black dagger that had suddenly appeared out of nowhere. Afterward, the black-robed Yama appeared there, quickly retreating with the dagger in his hand. Bright red blood sprayed from his mouth, drifting through the air in the form of mist. Your hiding technique is extremely great, but tricks like that are useless against me. Jian Chen wielded the Emperor armament as he sneered at the Yama. As soon as he said that, another 10 saint weapons appeared out of nowhere, silently stabbing at Jian Chen with a dark light. The 10 protector kings of Yama Hall had struck out at the same time. Jian Chen smiled scornfully. With a jolt of his arm, he stabbed out 10 times in an instant, and it became difficult to distinguish between what was real and false with the blurs. Every stroke cut through space, creating a small crack. They were all extremely accurate, striking the 10 saint weapons with the utmost precision. The saint weapons in the hands of the 10 protector kings suddenly shattered. They were destroyed by the Emperor armament like a hammer taken to a nut, while a small bloody slash appeared on their necks, before quickly expanding. Not only did Jian Chen's attack shatter their saint weapons, it even cut through their necks. Slivers of brutal chaotic force entered their heads from their neck, wiping out their souls. The 10 protector kings were killed off in a single clash with Jian Chen. 9th heavenly layer saint rulers were as weak as an ant before a 7th heavenly layer saint king. They could not even resist. Boom! Heiyu had lost interest in playing anymore. With a deafening boom, he swung out as hard as he could and split the ruined divine hall in half. All the formations within collapsed before the attack. The divine hall had been completely destroyed. Losing their greatest protection, all the assassins hiding within flew out and fled in all directions. Ha ha ha, I'm right. There really is a supreme experts who's come to seek trouble with the Yama Hall. Even the extremely tough divine hall has been destroyed. God is on my side, I'm finally free. Venerable Poison's word laughed aloud as he charged out of the ruined divine hall. He did not stick around, joining the group of assassins as he fled into the distance as fast as he could. Senior Rui Jin, don't let them escape, or there'll be endless future troubles. Jianshan coldly said, before charging at the Yama who had just ambushed him. Don't worry, leave it to me, Ruijin nonchalantly replied before forming a seal with his hands. He called out, secret technique of the Dragon Clan, Dragon's Domain. The surroundings suddenly lit up, and in that instant, the deep blue sky disappeared. The entire world became coated in a thick layer of golden light that expanded in all directions to several kilometers away with Ruijin as its center. It formed an independent world, severing the connection to the outside, and thus trapping all the assassins in there. Also, a mysterious power filled the golden world, firmly trapping them all where they could not move at all. There were quite a few saint rulers hidden among the assassins that fled. Trapped by the mysterious power, they immediately began to struggle as hard as they could. But even with their strength as saint rulers, they could not break free no matter how much they tried. Yama was also affected. Although it did not immobilize him, he seemed to have sunk into quicksand, where his movements became slow. Jianshan charged toward him threateningly with the Emperor armament. With a black flicker, the weapon stabbed mercilessly toward the Yama, with a destructive energy. A sliver of panic appeared in the Yama's eyes. Even at his peak, he was not Jianshan's opponent, much less now that his body was restricted, dulling all his movements. It made it even more impossible for him to block Jianshan's attacks. Jianshan, are you really going to kill all of us? There are quite a few assassins of the Yama Hall outside. Aren't you afraid that they'll come hunting your flame mercenaries with their assassination skills? The Yama called out in alarm, wanting Jianshan's determination to kill to waver. However, the Yama's threat did nothing. Jianshan's Emperor armament stabbed mercilessly into his chest, impaling him. Slivers of destructive, brutal, chaotic force entered the Yama's body through the Emperor armament, destroying all signs of life within him as they snaked toward his soul. The Yama's body was reduced to a bloody mess before the brutal, chaotic force. The violent pain caused him to shriek, and the top of his head immediately shattered. His soul had fled from his body, escaping into the distance. A gleam of light flashed through Jianshan's eyes. Controlling the surrounding space with his thoughts, he trapped the Yama's soul so that he could not flee. The Yama was a saint king, but he was extremely weak as a soul. He could not break free from the space frozen by Jianshan with Jianshan's comprehension at the 9th heavenly layer of saint ruler. The Yama's body fell out of the sky. With his sharp eyes and quick hands, Jianshan immediately removed the space ring from the Yama's finger, before quickly checking it. A while later, Jianshan's face lit up in joy. He pulled out a rock with a radius of 0.5 meter from the space ring, and involuntarily smiled without restraint. Ha ha ha! This trip was not a waste. I've finally found the Heaven's Soul Stone. Jianshan felt extremely excited after obtaining the rock. He felt several hundred times more excited over this than wiping out the Yama Hall, since he needed to find fewer and fewer materials for the azulite swords now. The Yama's soul immediately understood that the rock was extremely important to Jianshan. When he saw how Jianshan rejoiced after obtaining it, he immediately used a communication technique on Jianshan. Captain Jianshan, I can tell you where this rock comes from if you let me go. Jianshan stared blankly as he pointed the glowing Emperor armament at the Yama's soul. With dense killing intent in his eyes, he coldly said, Speak. Where does this rock come from? I will tell you if you agree to let me go. Otherwise, I won't say anything even if you kill me. The Yama replied with no room for disagreement. If you don't talk, I'll wipe out your soul right now, and then learn this from another person. The killing intent in Jianshan's eyes deepened, while the terrifying energy from the Emperor armament ripped through space. It seemed to be trying to suck the Yama's soul into the void. Sensing Jianshan's killing intent, the Yama knew that Jianshan was not joking. Making up his mind, he decided he might as well tell him and said, This rock comes from the Wasteland Continent. The Wasteland Continent? Isn't that the place the 100 races inhabit? Jianshan whispered inside before swinging his hand. The Emperor armament cleaved through the Yama's soul, wiping it out. The master of the Yama Hall disappeared from the world, just like this with his strength, at the 4th heavenly layer of Saint King. Jianshan rejoined Heiyu, Ruijin, and the others with the Emperor armament dripping with Saint King blood. He coldly stared at the assassins from the Yama Hall trapped in the dragon's domain. He then turned to the 5 saint rulers that had followed along. He said, "Kill all those here without mercy." "Yes, Captain." The saint rulers replied in unison. They were all extremely polite. They immediately charged toward the cloaked people, killing the assassins below Saint Ruler at leisure. Down below, Venerable Poison's word in Bai Dao's body was immobilized by the mysterious force within the dragon's domain. He immediately began to panic when he saw that the group of experts who had destroyed the divine hall had begun killing off the assassins. He called out, "Seniors, I am not a member of the Yama Hall. I was trapped in there until you came along and destroyed the Yama Hall. That was how I managed to break free. Please spare me, seniors." Venerable Poison's word meekly begged the people who had easily destroyed the divine hall for his life. Even with his former strength, he would not dare to offend them, much less now. Chapter 1093. Saving Bai Dao. Venerable Poison's word in Bai Dao's body mixed in with the group of assassins. Coupled with the fact that Bai Dao also wore long, black robes, he did not attract Jian Chun or the others' attention until he spoke. Jian Chun and Rui Jin turned to Venerable Poison's word at the same time. Rui Jin's expression remained the same as before, but Jian Chun's eyes suddenly narrowed. He blankly stared at Venerable Poison's word as his expression changed very quickly. Even after so many years, Jian Chun was still able to recognize Bai Dao. Bai Dao was his mother's brother as well as his uncle by blood. He would never forget one of his few relatives. "Uncle!" Jian Chun cried out in surprise, immediately flying toward him. A sliver of amazement crossed over Rui Jin and Hong Lian's faces when they heard what Jian Chun said. They followed Jian Chun. Venerable Poisoned Word had obviously heard Jian Chun's cry as well, which stunned him. He became rather puzzled. "Xiangtian, it's actually Xiangtian. He's actually Xiangtian." Bai Dao's soul began to violently pulse, no longer as calm as it was before. "Xiangtian? What's Xiangtian? Brat, you recognize these people?" Venerable Poison's word jumped inside, as he felt an ill omen. At this moment, Venerable Poison's word could feel the mysterious power immobilizing him disappear. He had regained his freedom, but he dared not flee. Any attempts of resistance and escape before an expert like this were futile. "He's my nephew." Venerable Poisoned word. "I'd like to see how you kill me now." Bai Dao gnashed his teeth. He began to violently struggle in attempt to regain control over his body. "What? Your nephew?" Venerable Poison's word paled in fright. He worked hard to suppress Bai Dao's soul as his heart churned. "That's completely impossible, you brat. Your nephew cannot be older than you. And you're not even 100 years old. How can you have such a powerful nephew? Bai Dao, do you really think that I'm a kid you can trick?" Venerable Poison's word loudly voiced his thoughts. But he was not confident with what he was thinking at all. Jian Chen's call of uncle was already perfect evidence. Jian Chen had arrived by Venerable Poisonsword's side. He stared at Venerable Poison's word in shock. And just when he wanted to speak, he seemed to sense something. His expression changed as his eyes suddenly narrowed. He called out, "You're not my uncle. Who are you?" Venerable Poisonsword's body shook as he became uneasy. However, it was already too late for him to make up for what he did. So he shamelessly said, "Nephew, I'm your uncle. Don't you even recognize your uncle Bai Dao anymore?" Jian Chen sharply glared at him, before he pointed the Emperor armament in his hand at Venerable Poison's word. Radiating with an aura of destruction, he called out, "You still want to lie? Speak, who are you?" A powerful killing intent began to surge from Jian Chun. Venerable Poisonsword's heart shivered when he saw how Jian Chun did not fall for his trick. Rui Jin and Hong Lian arrived by Jian Chun's side. Their eyes flashed with gleams of light as they stared fixedly at Venerable Poison's word. "Jian Chun, this body has 2 souls. Someone is forcefully suppressing the soul of the original owner, and hence controlling the body." Rui Jin explained. Jian Chen's expression changed, and he yelled at Venerable Poison's word, "Leave my uncle's body at once, or I'll wipe you out." Venerable Poisonsword's expression changed as well. He said, "Your uncle is still alive. I've fused with your uncle's soul right now, so if you kill me, your uncle will die as well." Jian Chen's heart sank. If Bai Dao had suffered any physical damage, there were many ways to heal it regardless of how heavy it was. However, matters would become extremely annoying when they were related to the soul. He still hasn't gained full control over the body, so he's still not the owner of it. I have ways to deal with him, Hong Lian suddenly informed them. She extended a finger toward Bai Dao's chest and stabbed into his heart, removing a droplet of dark red essence blood. At the same time, a ball of white flames appeared out of nowhere in Hong Lian's left hand. With a flick of her right hand, Bai Dao's essence blood shot into the white flames. The flames turned a red-white as soon as the essence blood entered, and with a wave of her left hand, the flames immediately surged toward Bai Dao's body. Hiss! Although it was just a small ball of flames, the flames spread very quickly once they touched Bai Dao. They encased him with a bright surging fire. Arg! Venerable Poison's word immediately shrieked out in pain under the scorching of the fire. The flames produced no ordinary fire. They were extremely harmful to the soul, where even someone like Venerable Poison's word could not resist. Hong Lian casually spoke when she saw Jian Chen's worried expression. Don't worry, your uncle's essence blood has already been fused into the flames by me. It cannot harm your uncle at all, and will only target objects that do not belong to your uncle. Using it to deal with that foreign soul in your uncle's body is extremely suitable for the situation. Jian Chen immediately stopped worrying when he heard her explanation. The flames rolled around Bai Dao's body. Although they did not give off any heat, there was no doubting their strength. The marks left behind by Venerable Poison word in Bai Dao's body were slowly burned away. Venerable Poison Sword's shrieks became more and more painful and more chilling. Enduring the scorching, he no longer had any extra strength to suppress Bai Dao's soul, allowing Bai Dao to regain control over his own body once again. Venerable Poison Sword's shrieks also became pulses of a soul in Bai Dao's head. You old bastard, didn't you want to devour my soul before? Let's see who will be devouring whose soul now. Bai Dao was not a weakling. Without even talking to his nephew, he immediately began to devour Venerable Poison Sword's soul instead. Originally, it would have been impossible for Bai Dao to devour the soul of a Saint King at great perfection with his powers, but Venerable Poison Sword's soul had become extremely weak under the scorching of the flames. Since his soul was also in Bai Dao's head, Bai Dao was provided with this rare opportunity to devour the soul. However, Bai Dao's current strength was just too low. His appetite was nowhere great, so Bai Dao reached his limit as soon as he devoured a tiny portion. Venerable Poison's word was still a Saint King at great perfection, even though his soul had become extremely weak. It was impossible for Bai Dao to devour it all in a short amount of time. The flames that burned Venerable Poison Sword's soul gradually subsided, and his soul stopped shrieking. All that was left was a gray pearl floating in Bai Dao's head. It was filled with the presence of the mysteries of the world and the dense power of a soul. That foreign soul that's taken over his body has been wiped out. As long as a small portion of the soul remains in your uncle's body, the comprehensions of the mysteries of the world in the foreign soul will remain because of the wonders of my fire and the environment. So if your uncle can absorb all of it, his strength will greatly increase. It is a great opportunity for him. Hong Lian nonchalantly spoke. Afterward, she raised her hand and a ball of flames rushed out of Bai Dao, returning to her hand before disappearing. Jian Chen obviously became extremely happy knowing that Bai Dao had obtained such a great opportunity to increase his strength. He arrived by Bai Dao's side and asked out of concern, "Uncle, are you all right? How do you feel?" Bai Dao slowly opened his eyes. They were filled with weakness and exhaustion. He had yet to convert the portion of the Venerable Poison Sword's soul he had devoured into his own, while even more fragments of the soul and mysteries of the world remained in his head. The weakness in his soul was due to the suppression he suffered, as well as the fact that his body's control was forcefully seized from him. Bai Dao looked at Jian Chen with mixed emotions as gladness filled his face. After so many years, his nephew was becoming more and more outstanding. "Xiangtian, you're fine now. The Yama Hall was the mysterious people who wiped out our Bai family long ago. Only you can complete the revenge now," Bai Dao said. Killing intent surged in Jian Chen's eyes when he heard that. He grit his teeth. I never thought that the mysterious people who wiped out the Bai family back then was the Yama Hall. I can finally avenge the Bai family now. Uncle, go rest first. Leave everything to me, Jianchen said to Bai Dao. He gazed around and saw that a large portion of the 1,000 or so assassins of Yama Hall had been slaughtered by the 5 saint rulers. Only a dozen or so saint ruler assassins remained. Although there was the punishment of celestial decay, if saint rulers, or above, killed those below saint ruler, that was only applicable to massacres, targeting those who kill millions of people. Just killing 1,000 people would not lead to celestial decay. Violent booms constantly vibrated around. The battle in the distance became even more intense. The 5 saint rulers now worked together as they encircled the saint ruler assassins, killing them one by one. The saint ruler assassins were all limited in their movements. Although they could counterattack, it was very difficult for them to move. So even if they were more powerful, they could not resist the joint attacks of the 5 saint rulers. In the blink of an eye, 2 of the weaker saint ruler assassins were killed off by the 5 saint rulers. On the other hand, the slaughter of those above saint ruler would not increase the sins of a person and lead to celestial decay, no matter how horrifying the slaughter was. Jianchen coldly stared at the remaining saint ruler assassins. With his emperor armament, he used the illusionary flash, charging toward them from where he was in the form of a blur. Every time he passed by one of them, the emperor armament would turn into a black streak of light, and a head would be launched into the air. Even saint rulers at the 9th heavenly layer were not Jianchen's opponent. Very soon, all of them died to Jianchen's hands. Their souls were all wiped out as blood dyed the sky, falling like rain. Jianchen's white robes fluttered as his long hair swept about. He stood in the air with his emperor armament, which dripped with blood, seeming just like a god of slaughter. He glared at the destroyed divine hall and coldly called out, "How much longer are you going to hide, you, the real experts of the Yama Hall? Are you still not going to come out?" He had learned from Changyang Zhu Yunshao that there was not a lot of saint kings in the Yama Hall. But there was more than one. Suddenly, an extremely thin spike appeared behind Jianchen. It stabbed at the back of Jianchen's head with lightning speed and utter silence, wanting to wipe out his soul in a single stroke. Chapter 1094. Spectral Elder. Suddenly, an extremely thin spike appeared behind Jianchen. It stabbed at the back of Jianchen's head with lightning speed and utter silence, wanting to wipe out his soul in a single stroke. The spike had appeared suddenly, without any prior signs. Even as it shot out, it was completely silent, not radiating with any energy. It was extremely fast, enough to rival Jianchen's sword. Jianchen's eyes suddenly narrowed. Although he failed to notice the killing strike from behind him, he could sense everything since he had expanded his presence. Using the illusory flash, he left a blur where he was standing before and appeared 3 meters away. The emperor armament in his hand cut through space as it stabbed at the spike. The black spike passed through Jianchen's afterimage before returning with unbelievable speed. It collided with the emperor armament. With a boom, the emperor armament struck the tip of the spike. A terrifying energy erupted, wreaking havoc in the surroundings, causing the area to violently tremble. Jianchen took a few steps back from the great force. A silver-clothed figure could vaguely be seen that quickly retreated. The figure seemed to be fused with the surroundings, becoming extremely faint to the point where it was barely visible. The next moment, the figure suddenly vanished, disappearing completely. Jianchen finally became rather stern. He knew he had come across a true expert now. To be able to match his emperor armament, not only did his opponent reach the 7th heavenly layer of Saint King, his opponent also possessed an extremely profound concealing technique. He could fuse with the surroundings, and even Jianchen's presence was not enough to sense where he was. What a great concealing technique, Jianchen could not help but praise. Many people knew techniques where they could hide themselves from others. Those were only small tricks, but these small tricks could not escape the senses of Jianchen's presence. However, the assassin's concealing technique was able to hide from Jianchen's presence in such a way that Jianchen could not find him. "You must be the previous Yama of the Yama Hall," Jianchen emotionlessly said. He fully expanded his presence and paid attention to everything, keeping his guard against the life-threatening attack that the hidden assassin could deal at any moment. I am the spectral elder of the Yama Hall, not the former Yama. Captain Jian Chun, since you want to devastate the Yama Hall, I can only lay my hands on you. An old voice rang out from the empty space, making it impossible to pinpoint where the speaker was. Jian Chun slightly frowned. His presence had already enveloped the entire dragon's domain, but he failed to find where the person was hiding. Jian Chun, this person's concealing technique has already reached a state of absolute mastery, while my grasp over the dragon's domain has yet to reach perfection. It is unable to limit his movements, and I can't find where he's hiding, Rui Jin said to Jian Chun through a communication technique. Jian Chun chuckled at the sky. Finally an opponent equal to me. Spectral Elder. So what if your concealing technique has reached a level of perfection? You still can't make sneak attacks on me. Senior Rui Jin, Senior Heiyu, and Senior Hong Lian. Leave this person to me. You're too confident, Jian Chun. You'll die for sure today. Unless I am facing as a 9th heavenly layer Saint King, no one can survive my assassination skills. The spectral elder's voice rang out once more, but it was still impossible to find where he was. Suddenly, the black spike appeared behind Jian Chun again. It shot toward Jian Chun silently, and by following the trajectory of the spike, an extremely vague figure could be seen. It seemed like a cloud of smoke. A sharp gleam of light flickered through Jian Chun's eyes. He wanted to stab the Emperor armament back and engage in a battle with the Spectral Elder, but the Spectral Elder did not bother to tangle with him too much. He hid in the empty space once more where Jian Chun lost track of him. With a cold face, Jian Chun constantly stabbed at the empty space before him. He created a dense net of blurs that enveloped the space in front of him as he tried to force the Spectral Elder out of hiding. However, the black spike appeared once more at this moment on Jian Chun's left side. The spike fused with the surrounding space, arriving near Jian Chun in an instant. It easily pierced through Jian Chun's body, puncturing his left shoulder. It traveled all the way to his left shoulder bone. Jian Chun roared as the chaotic force within him surged. All of it gathered in his left shoulder, and by enduring the heart-stabbing pain, he used the bone to stop the spike from advancing, as he swiftly attacked the Spectral Elder with the Emperor armament, which was filled with an aura of destruction. The Spectral Elder coldly snorted as Saint Force surged out of the spike, shattering Jian Chun's left shoulder bone. He removed the spike, and then quickly retreated, wanting to hide in empty space again. Unfortunately, Jian Chun did not give him that chance. The instant the Spectral Elder hid in empty space again, the Emperor armament passed under his arm, leaving behind a wound. A sliver of chaotic force entered the wound from the Emperor armament, quickly destroying the Spectral Elder's flesh and blood. Although he was powerful, his body was nowhere near as tough as Jian Chun's body. He was unable to withstand the chaotic force, as the intense pain from the chaotic force caused him to involuntarily grunt. Afterward, his body completely disappeared in empty space without leaving behind a single drop of blood. Jian Chun snickered. He had a wondrous connection with chaotic force. Even though the Spectral Elder had hidden in empty space, Jian Chun could find where he was through the sliver of chaotic force that had entered his body. Spectral Elder, I'd like to see where you run off to now. Jian Chun took a single step and traversed thousands of meters. The Emperor armament stabbed at empty air. Ding! The Spectral Elder blocked Jian Chun's Emperor armament with the Saint weapon in his hand. He could no longer remain hidden in space, finally appearing before Jian Chun. He was a bald old man, skinny and small. He wore a silver robe made out of some unknown material, which was tightly wrapped around him. The area below his arm had already become red with blood. The residual chaotic force was forcefully being suppressed by the old man's powerful Saint force, preventing it from expanding. How is this possible? How did you find where I was? The Spectral Elder stared at Jian Chun in shock. Your hiding techniques are useless before me. Let's have a solid battle with our own strengths, sneered Jian Chun. He attacked the Spectral Elder once more with the Emperor armament. The Spectral Elder did not buy it. With a flash, He disappeared into empty space once again. But he was immediately discovered by Jian Shen, forcing him out of hiding. My void movement technique may be ineffective against you, but I can still kill you. The spectral elder no longer hid in empty space. A vast surging energy leaked from him as the black spike in his hand began to glow with dark light. He began engaging in an intense battle with Jian Shen. Every assassin of the Yama Hall rarely engaged in open battles. They were more used to assassinations, often using the easiest method to catch the opponent off guard and deal a fatal blow. Now that the spectral elder's assassination techniques were useless against Jian Shen, he could only fight him head-on. The spectral elder was an assassin, but he was still a 7th heavenly layer Saint King. He had gone through countless battles on the edge of life and death, so he was extremely powerful even without his assassination techniques. He possessed extremely rich experience in combat. Violent booms filled the surroundings. The Emperor armament in Jian Shen's hand had already turned into a vicious black dragon, moving so fast that space shattered. His Emperor armament stabbed out continuously in the form of blurs, moving extremely quickly. Each strike was sharp and fast and filled with viciousness, only aiming to harm the spectral elder. The spike in the spectral elder's hand stabbed out quickly, as a terrifying energy wrapped around it. It was no slower than Jian Shen's attack speed, but the only difference was that every attack from Jian Shen was extremely fluid, flowing from one to another like water. It seemed to possess some other profoundness at the same time. On the other hand, the spectral elder focused more on power. Each strike possessed an earth-shaking might, wanting to suppress Jian Shen with supreme strength. It was an intense clash, a battle between power, a collision of strength. More importantly, it was a fierce fight of life and death. Jian Shen matched the spectral elder with his emperor armament, fighting to the point where the surroundings fell into chaos. Even Rui Jin's dragon's domain violently trembled. The two of them clashed over 1,000 times very soon. They both were dyed with blood and wounds littered their bodies. No one gained an advantage. Ancient secret technique, devouring the world. The spectral elder suddenly bellowed out. He exhaled after opening his mouth. Immediately, a huge ghost's face appeared, opening its pitch-black mouth toward Jian Shen before sucking violently. Faced with the sudden suction, Jian Shen immediately flew toward the ghost's mouth. Jian Shen saw the glimmering of stars within the pitch-black mouth, the boundless cosmos. This was an extremely powerful ancient secret technique. Jian Shen knew that once he was sucked into it, he would probably be released in that region of outer space, without any hopes of returning. Jian Shen drew closer and closer to the mouth. The suction was extremely powerful, and had already locked onto him. He could not escape. Jian Shen roared at the sky as chaotic force wildly ran through his body like wild horses. The Emperor armament glowed with a blinding, dark light as a presence of destruction filled the domain. He then sliced as hard as he could at the ghost's face, causing it to violently tremble. Jian Shen struck out over 10 times in that short instance. Each attack utilized all he had, causing the ghost's face to continuously tremble. In the end, it ripped apart into several pieces. Spurt. With the ancient secret technique shattered, the spectral elder also suffered a backlash. He vomited a mouthful of blood and paled. The injury this time was bad, much more severe than all the wounds he had received earlier. Chapter 1095. The former Yama Jian Shen reacted extremely quickly. After breaking through the ancient secret technique, he immediately attacked the spectral elder. He sent a huge sword chi, 10 meters long, toward the spectral elder. The spectral elder was no longer as powerful as before. After blocking the attack, he moved back several dozen meters uncontrollably. Before he had regained his footing, Jian Shen had already appeared in front of him through the illusory flash. The Emperor armament fused with the surrounding space and radiated with a terrifying energy, stabbing toward the spectral elder's head. In that crucial moment, the space around Jian Shen suddenly froze. Jian Shen's motion paused, and his strike headed toward the spectral elder's head slowed. Jian Shen roared out. His long hair and clothes danced about wildly as surging chaotic force shook up his insides. He broke through the frozen space, but the obstruction still affected him. Not only did he lose a perfect opportunity to kill the spectral elder, the spectral elder had stabbed out and punctured his chest. Jianshen, I'll take your life with us if you want to wipe out the Yama Hall. At the same time, Jianshen heard a voice. A black-robed, young man, who seemed to be in his 20s, silently appeared beside the spectral elder. He held the exact same spike as the spectral elder, stabbing at Jianshen's forehead with lightning speed. That's a 9th heavenly layer Saint King. Rui Jin's expression changed as he watched on from afar. He immediately disappeared from where he was, swiftly rushing over. Rui Jin was very fast, but the young man was even faster. The black spike arrived before Jianshen's forehead in an instant. Rui Jin could not save Jianshen even with his speed. Jianshen could not dodge at all. The attack had locked onto his presence, so he felt like he could not avoid it no matter what he tried. All he could do was take it forcefully. The moment before death, Jianshen became extraordinarily calm. A golden streak of light flashed from his forehead during a crucial moment, and a fist-sized golden tower immediately flew out. It collided with the black spike in the form of a golden streak of light. With a great boom, the life-threatening attack that came from the young man was successfully blocked by the saint artifact. A sliver of pity appeared in the young man's eyes. He glanced in Rui Jin's direction, and he immediately became stern. He swung a palm full of dense energy toward Jianshen's chest before immediately disappearing into empty space. He had vanished. Jianshen vomited a mouthful of blood as he was blown away like a broken kite. His chest had completely caved in, his ribs had all shattered, and his organs had all ruptured. His injuries were severe. Killing intent flashed through the spectral elder's eyes when he saw how heavily injured Jianshen had become. He immediately pursued Jianshen, wanting to end his life. Rui Jin had already arrived where the young man was before. With a sunken face, glaring eyes, and a glimmering golden body, a vast pressure filled with anger appeared in the surroundings. He had clearly been angered. Magical beast, I know I'm not your opponent, so farewell today. The young man's cold voice rang out from empty space. Arg! On the other side, Jianshen furiously roared. Chaotic force rampaged within him, quickly healing his injuries. Although it was impossible for him to make a full recovery in such a short amount of time, he suppressed his injuries as fast as he could. Spectral Elder, I can still claim your life even if I'm heavily injured, Jianshen yelled out. His battle intent increased, and not only did his might fail to decrease, it had become even greater than before. This was the strongest aspect of the chaotic body. With a powerful body and vitality, Jianshen possessed battle prowess far greater than ordinary people. Unless he came across people that were far stronger than him, he could take on people at the same level as him, even if he was heavily injured. The bloodied Jianshen began fighting the spectral elder once more. He was even more wild and even more bold than before. He cast away everything and fought the spectral elder in a way that traded blow for blow. The saint artifact floated above his head, ready to block a sneak attack from the hiding 9th heavenly layer Saint King at any moment. By himself, Jianshen possessed the might of a 3rd heavenly layer Saint King. He only possessed strength at the 7th heavenly layer because of the Emperor armament, so the 7th heavenly layer was his current limit. It just happened to be equal to the spectral elder's strength, so as the two ferociously fought, their wounds constantly increased. The residual chaotic force in the spectral elder's body had already been forced out by his supreme strength, so it could no longer deal any more damage to the spectral elder. With a cold expression, Rui Jin growled, My dragon's domain is a smaller realm, independent from the outside world. Unless you are at great perfection as well, you cannot escape. If I don't come out of hiding, you can't find me either. I can perform sneak attacks on you all the time, said the young man. Your status in the Yama Hall must be extraordinary with your strength. If I've guessed correctly, you should be the master of the Yama Hall that was heavily injured by the sect master of the Bloodsword sect 1,000 years ago, replied Rui Jin. He had some understanding in regards to the Yama Hall's current strength from what Jianshen had told him before. Correct, I am the previous Yama. Now that my wounds have completely healed, I am roughly just as strong as you. I may not be your opponent, but if I pester you, I will irritate you. Magical beast, "Do you think there's a need for us to brawl it out?" said the former Yama. He feared Ruijin, so he wanted to stop fighting with him. Scorn filled Ruijin's eyes. He said, "The void movement technique of your Yama Hall truly is admirable. To be able to hide from the senses of my dragon's domain. It really is powerful, but finding you is as easy as a flip of my hand." With that, Ruijin produced a loud dragon's roar at the sky. It was earth-shaking, possessing might that destroyed the surroundings. The terrifying sound wave caused the surrounding space to toss like waves. The roar contained a sliver of the dragon clan's pressure. Since the pressure originated from a golden divine dragon, a king of the dragon clan, it was much stronger than the pressure of ordinary dragons. It could harm the souls of people. The 5 saint rulers of the flame mercenaries fell unconscious, falling out of the sky. They had been knocked out by Ruijin's earth-shaking roar. Jian Chun and the spectral elder were also affected during their ferocious fight. Both of them felt a heart-stabbing pain in their souls, causing them to become sluggish and stop fighting temporarily. However, Jian Chun's soul was far more powerful than his current strength, so he recovered before the spectral elder. He immediately stabbed the area between the spectral elder's eyebrows with the emperor armament, wiping out the spectral elder's soul and killing him off. Ruijin's roar caused the surrounding space to violently tremble. The space tossed and turned like the surface of the ocean, where waves rose one after another, forcing the former Yama out of hiding. He appeared 1,000 meters away. "Former Yama, even if you're at great perfection, you don't have the capability to irritate me. Killing you is easy. Unless you are a saint emperor, you have no right to discuss anything with me." Ruijin coldly spoke. The dragon clan was a powerful and prideful clan, not to mention Ruijin, who was a king of the clan. Ruijin appeared silently next to the former Yama. Without using any weapons, he extended his hands in the direction of the former Yama's head. The former Yama became stern. Invisible world force immediately condensed, all of it gathering on the black spike in his hand. It then shot toward Ruijin's hands in a flash. Ruijin's expression remained the same. His hands were covered by a layer of golden scales in an instant, catching the black spike. A vicious light flickered through the former Yama's eyes. Terrifying energy loudly erupted from the black spike in an attempt to blow one of Ruijin's hands off. However, it did nothing. "You overestimate yourself if you want to take me on." Ruijin's hand tightly grasped the former Yama's weapon. The densely packed scales on his hand were extremely tough. Even an attack from a 9th heavenly layer Saint King would struggle to harm him. At this moment, Ruijin slowly raised his left hand as it rapidly changed, turning into a golden dragon's claw in the blink of an eye. The 5 long claws flickered with a pressing cold light as they stabbed into the former Yama's chest with lightning speed. The sharp claws impaled the former Yama, and the brutal force created a huge hole in the former Yama's chest. Blood sprayed from the former Yama's mouth. He was heavily injured, and he abandoned his weapon without a second thought. Pulling back, his figure quickly began to dull. He wanted to hide in empty space. Ruijin took several steps through the air, where each step could shatter space. They produced terrifying ripples in space, causing it to become extremely unstable. The instability prevented the former Yama from hiding. The dragon's claw flickered with a dull, golden light as inscriptions flashed. The claw came down from above, traveling toward the former Yama's head. In that instance, time seemed to stop. Even the air stopped, freezing everything. The space below Ruijin's claws seemed to turn into an independent domain, a domain without time. The former Yama's movements halted. Ruijin's giant claw flickered with golden inscriptions. It fell from above with incomparable force, and the moment that it came in contact with the former Yama's head, his head loudly exploded. His soul had been wiped out before it could even break out of his body. The claw continued down without any reduction in speed. It fell from above, heading down, continuing into the former Yama's body. With just a few booms, the former Yama's body was squashed into pieces. He died without a full corpse. The former Yama was a 9th heavenly layer Saint King. He was an expert who stood at the very apex of the continent, yet someone so strong as him could not even withstand a blow from Ruijin. Jian Chen felt deeply shocked when he witnessed just how easily Rui Jin had slain a ninth heavenly layer Saint King. He could not remain calm. This was a battle where Rui Jin purely used his own strength against the former Yama, without any use of his origin weapon. A ninth heavenly layer Saint King could not even fight back before Rui Jin. Rui Jin sure is worthy of being a Dragon King. His strength is too terrifying. Our differences are just too great. It would have been impossible for me to kill that former Yama so easily if it were me. He Yu sighed in amazement. He too felt shocked by Rui Jin's terrifying strength. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.